Crossmedia site up.
We should probably come up with another poll, too. Another couple more. While everyone's getting seated down, anyone have a poll they want us to find out? Anybody? Oh, yeah. API. Hi. John, can you put up Trender's website? Has everyone downloaded the Trender app? How many people have downloaded it? Using it? Come on in. Yeah, we need to bring everybody in, so. Nick, are there still people in the back? Nick, are there still people in the back? They all came out? Yeah. The bathroom?
Vegetable sandwiches.
They weren't good? I thought it was okay. Yeah, it was good. Well, they're coming from a foodie, though. They're coming from, yeah, okay. All right. What a morning. Come on in. How's everyone feeling after lunch? It's okay to sleep in the afternoon. We don't have a problem with it. All right, have we got anyone else with blue dots? Who's a blue dot? I know Eric. Where's Derek? Derek at the back from Adobe. Can you see him with his hands up? He's from the New York office at Adobe. Keep waving, Derek. You are looking for, what are you looking for? What type of people? You're looking for people in Ottawa, right? You're hiring a couple of hundred people? Hold on. Let me get you a microphone. Derek, just come on up. Come on up. People, Jay, give him that microphone. Derek, just come on up. Now, everyone, Derek is near and dear to our heart here at Crossmedia Toronto, or actually the Crossmedia franchise. Derek, who is at Adobe in New York, was our first ticket buyer ever at a Crossmedia event in 2010. Yeah. Thank you. Great job. And you're back. Thanks for coming out. So do you want to so Derek works at Adobe out of New York. He's on the road traveling all the time, but they are hiring 200 people in Canada. So do you want us to tell us? Not in Canada, not only Canada.
No, actually in North America. But if you are looking for a job with Adobe, a lot of the jobs may be based in Ottawa or in San Jose or in Salt Lake City. But don't let that be like a barrier to you applying, because a lot of the jobs are remote now. So
what are you looking for? Like social media people or programmers or what?
Yeah, social media programmers, salespeople, marketing folks. So go to adobe.ca, go to the bottom. And we've got a whole bunch of listings out there.
What's the culture like at Adobe? It's a big company.
Well, we were ranked by Fortune magazine as one of the top 100 places to work, so very collaborative, very, if you're the type of person that likes to work well with other people, you'll be successful here.
And so I cannot go to Adobe. I don't work well with anybody. That's why I run my own company. All right, thanks very much, Derek. So check Derek at Adobe. They look at my staff, they're like, totally right. Okay. We also, 77 people have downloaded the Trender app. Has anyone had a successful meeting from the Trender app? Anyone? I know that some people were setting up. Oh, you did it at the back? How did it go? Who did you meet? You met with TVO? Did you get a job?
No, we were just talking about travel.
You were just talking about travel. Okay, great. So you see the Trender app is already starting. If you haven't downloaded it, download it, and click into the LinkedIn. I mean, we were using it's great. You'll be able to see who's around you. You can set up a meeting. Now, I do want to say, you see that center white post in the Novella room there? The Trender guys will be there. If you want to meet up, if you want to set a meeting, that's where you will meet the person. So if you reach out to someone and says, I want a meeting, and then you're like both looking at each other going, I don't know where to meet, center white pole, the Trender guys will be there to, I don't know what they're going to be. Michael and Peter will be just there to egg you on. Good job, you guys met. Okay. Anyone else hiring? Anyone else hiring that wants to talk about it? Yes, hi. Oh yeah, hi. Do we have a mic for, no, we'll get you a mic. Because are you hiring more than 200 people?
No, definitely I can't compete with Adobe.
Okay, do you want to stand up and just tell me where you're at, who you are, where you're from?
I'm Salome Salehi. I'm the marketing director of Plastic Mobile. We're a mobile marketing agency, and we are hiring all kinds of roles. So anyone with, the tech skills, which is not my area, but developers as well as project managers. Our creative team is also hiring, so designers and art directors. Just, you could either find me on Twitter or email
I think we
anyone
just
at
find you with
Plastic.
the vest. The vest is going to do it. Just find the person with the vest.
It's really cold.
Listen, we turned up the heat. Is the heat okay now? Is it still too cold?
So if anyone wants to borrow my vest,
It's windy? Someone's saying it's windy. Okay, and if you want to rent the vest, how much is the vest going for? Okay, I'm sorry, we're going to work on it right now. We saw the tweets, so we definitely tried to make it work that. We'll get on it. I don't know where Jen is, but she'll work on it. Okay, let's get everything going. We got 4 great speakers coming right now. Is there any questions or concerns that you need me to bring up right now at the beginning? Because once we get on the railway track, I can't really get off. You guys all ready? Okay, good. You ready? All right, here we go. We start off after lunch with a speaker who has spoken many times at our events. Paul Conatonis, he is the GM of Magnet Media Originals, chairman of the board of directors for the International Academy of Web Television. He was at Digitas. Before that, he was at a company called For Your Imagination. He's an innovator. He's a leader. We're really excited to have him here. And I think that I will just let him do his thing. And if he points the laser at you, don't do that. Just let me know and I will tackle him on the stage. Put your hands together for Paul, please.
Hold on. Obligatory picture from the stage. Okay, cool. All right, so we're going to be talking about building audiences for your web series. My name again is Paul Contonis. I'm GM of Magnet Media Originals. There's my email address in there too. You can't see the P at the end, but it's PK at Magnet Media Films if you need to reach me, or at Contonis. To build your audiences, you have to start with these 3 components. It really starts with the actual development of your content. We'll talk about the distribution. We'll get into the marketing as well. With content, you're focusing on content authenticity. These are some of the tools we use. You need to start with the content to know who the audience is, who you want to attract, and if you're going to be big, you're going to be small, if you're going to reach a lot of people, if you're going to reach a few people. The more you understand and know your audience, the better. The more authentic you can speak to your audience, the better. These are some of the tools we use, like Peer Index and Cloud, and looking obviously at social presences as well to determine who we're going to put in our content and how to create our content to best reach an audience. One of the tools in here I'm going to go into specifically is called Open Slate, and you're going to get to see that in a moment. Why are we going backwards? Ooh. Okay, they got to flow in one more time. Hold on. Here we go. Okay, we're going to go into Open Slate. This URL is Open Slate Studios. This is the most unique tool you will find for understanding YouTube out there. What it does is it creates a credit score for the YouTube channel, which is based off of the content's scale, how much of an audience does it have. It's based off the engagement and the relationship that content has with its audience, and it's based on the consistency that that content has as well, as producers, but also as the consistency at which it can deliver an audience. So we'll take a quick look at the Young Turks, which is a fairly large YouTube channel. This is some of the data you will get. You will get things like the monthly views on a rolling 30-day basis. You'll get the number of subscribers, a monthly viewers. Then you get these 3 scores here in addition to the main score. The main score is out of 1,000. So in this case, we see it's 696. 825 is the top of all the YouTube producers right now. You then see it relative to its category of news and politics, and you see where it ranks there and where the average is. It also tells you that it's in the top 1% of all producers. You get these other 3 scores, which are measuring engagement, consistency, and influence. These are out of 10, and these are relative numbers. So like a credit score, you can be continuing doing the same stuff, and your score can go up and down based on how everybody is doing. Currently, the major media buyers are using this as a way to identify the best quality inventory to purchase on YouTube from an advertiser perspective, and all the major MCNs have been using this tool, the multi-channel networks have been using this tool to identify new content creators to roll up into their network. Because you could have a low top score, but you could be really high in these, which means that you're you're a professional producer of quality content, and then you just need a little bit of marketing muscle to expand. So I encourage you all to go to Open Slate Studios, you log in with your LinkedIn, and you're good to go to get a lot of information. Next, we start looking at what is the actual audience that we do want to reach. So we know what our content is, we know who we're going to try to appeal to, but then what is the value of this audience? Is it a brand-friendly audience? We go into Google AdWords, we start messing around with that and start figuring out, well, how much can we get for this kind of an audience? What do the keywords look like? So we're starting to think about what is the content, how does that speak authentically to an audience? We then look at the types of relationships that we're building with our content and looking at other channels we can tie in. And then we look at the potential value of that audience. And again, OpenSlate is one of the tools that we use in here, in addition to some of your basic tools that you would use. When it comes to distribution, YouTube is at the top of our game. We are constantly looking at YouTube as a distribution platform. We do know that it does very well with millennials and the younger audiences, but you can also carve out niche audiences at different age groups as well. It's starting to work really well for scripted content, in addition to the vlog style, so we're starting to see major growth in that. And in fact, the IAW TV has forecasted that 1,000 new web series will come online out of US and Canada. These are high quality productions that'll be coming online this year with an estimated production spend on these of over $250 million. Almost 60% of these will be launching on YouTube and may even declare YouTube as its primary home. So we're seeing it as really the top place for this independently produced content, as well as professionally independently produced content. As well as you have your other platforms in here too. I gave a little CTV nod because they're Canadian, right? We're in Canada. Okay, cool. I'm from New York. And then other potential partners here. But you really have to make sure where you're distributing it is where your audience is, and that you can get scale. Scale is a very key piece in this. This is a kind of broad swath at all the different things you can do. Take whatever notes you want out of this, but really what you're looking at is there are a ridiculous number of ways of driving your audience and building your audience, and you have a tremendous number of tools in the social space as well as in the tech side of things and editorial side and different sites you can partner up with. There are a lot of things you can be doing. The thing is, just do it. Most people think that posting and hoping for a lot of views is a great strategy. We heard how many videos are coming online every minute, how many hours of content are coming online every minute of every day. I think the average number of views on YouTube is 2. It's you, and when you go check it later. On the marketing side, we heard a little bit earlier about paid, owned, and earned media. This applies to this as well? Perfect. So we start with your video, you're putting it on your own media, your .com, your YouTube channel, Facebook, whatever that might be. You're hoping you're going to get a certain amount of earned views, but in the end, you really want to make sure you get to a really high, nice number. Padded in the middle is paid views. And that's where we require some surge media, something you do to drive viewership, whether you're paying for placement of your videos in front of the right audience, whether you're putting it into games where people can watch a video to get something. You got to do something to kind of goose these numbers up. They don't go up on their own. And lastly, I encourage you all to find this digital video ecosystem that came out in the 4th quarter of last year. It was done at the New York TV Festival. It is not a comprehensive guide to digital video. It is an editorial guide. So companies are sized based on their importance within the space. This is US and Canadian markets. And it also is leaving out a lot of people. And the biggest part that's left out of here is the whole Indiegogo Kickstarter thing, because it's meaningless. That's all I'll say. You can use it, but it's still a fraction of the market. So right now, we actually consider it meaningless in the whole space. That was the big editorial removal by Peter Kafka and Michael Learmonth. Michael Learmonth from Ad Age and Peter Kafka from All Things D hacked it down.
Really?
Yeah, they were like meaningless. That was the word they used.
For Kickstarter and...
Indiegogo.
Okay, but here, let me ask you this question. In terms of surge, right, if you look at Kickstarter and Indiegogo as a platform in which people can engage but not necessarily give you money, do you, from a social media standpoint, believe that they're a good place to place something, to put something? So if you ask for $10,000 for some sort of TV thing...
It's where your marketing actually starts.
So you think the marketing starts on Kickstarter and Indiegogo?
That's your first step in your marketing plan, is putting the content there, because you're building a audience of vested viewers that will come back and watch.
What is your, on Indiegogo and Kickstarter, what are ones that you've seen recently that you think did it right?
I always love what Freddie Wong does when he does his raises for Video Game High School.
Right.
But we're just seeing so many of them at this point. 40,000 here, 10,000 here, 50,000 here. There's one out of Toronto called Pioneer One. No, not Pioneer One. That was the TV show. Oh, they're going to hate me for not knowing. Rodney Smith, I'm sorry. I don't remember the name of your series. But it's on Indiegogo, and it's awesome.
Okay. And just between Kickstarter and Indiegogo, which one, if you had to pick one, which one would you pick?
I can't, really. They're both cool.
You have to.
They're both cool.
No, it's unacceptable.
I know them both. I can't.
What? You know them both?
I know Slava better. Indiegogo.
Indiegogo.
Yes.
Thank you. That's all I asked for. Are there some questions from the audience? Yes. Jay's going to come down there.
Yeah, Felice.
Nice. Yeah. Here comes the mic. Thank you very much. If anyone else has a question, put up your hand now. We'll get you a mic.
Hi, Paul. I know we were already talking about this, but what are the chances of, if we start making content that people are searching for, like, is that possible? Because you may say a show or whatever has very little viewers. Well, maybe it's because we're not making content that people want to watch. So can we flip it on its head and do it the other way?
So is it a distribution issue, or is it just the content's not very good?
Both. So in that audience side, you saw AdWords and Google Analytics and YouTube Insights. The idea is use whatever data you can to determine, are people searching for this content? What are the keywords that might drive what this content is? What are the rates that people are paying for those words? What are the ad rates going for those? And then does it make sense? And can you find that perfect nexus of demand, not a lot of inventory on it, and a high CPM, and then maybe that's something you then create. So if you have a lot of demand for that people are searching for it, but not a lot of inventory to deliver, and a high CPM creates something in that space, that'll be a good play.
Any other questions? Thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it. Definitely follow up with Paul afterwards. Okay, moving right along, we have Haney Rashwan. He's the co-founder and CEO of Ribbon. Do you need this? Yeah, do you want to get it up going? Okay. We're excited to have social media e-commerce platforms, because we're starting to see lots of things like Hootsuite trying to generate revenue off the back end, lots of people using social media. And at Jumpwire, obviously, what we do is build ecosystems and build massive audiences on social media across the different platforms. We're amazing. But the big problem is that a lot of these people are talking about how do they monetize it. And we've been using it, for example, in radio to drive to ratings, and TV drive to ratings, to try and drive the ratings using all these free audiences in social media. But I think what we really liked about what Haney was doing is that he is it's actually sort of incredible what you're doing. I got to say we looked at it, and John at the back took a look at it, and we thought it was pretty interesting. So I'm not even going to babble anymore. I'm just going to let him do it for you, do the presentation for you. But I think you will be impressed. Here we go.
Very cool. So my name is Haney Rashwan. I'm the co-founder and CEO of a payments company called Ribbon. And I'll tell you a little bit about social commerce, where I think it's headed, and sort of what we do at Ribbon to do. So social commerce is a really, really big and hot term right now. And part of the reason why is because it's projected to grow really rapidly. Conservative estimates have it at being about $30 billion worldwide in just a few years, by 2015. And this doesn't even begin to scratch the surface, because this only represents physical goods. And so in terms of services sold, or even digital items, which on the web are even more and more accelerated, this doesn't even have the figure in there. But what I think really drives this transformation forward are two main trends, and that's sort of what I want to talk about today. And it has to do with how the internet is today versus how it was even a few years ago. We're seeing the web becoming more and more decentralized. It's no longer the case that yahoo.com is the homepage or directory of the internet. We don't go to buy.com to buy items anymore. Instead, we're hanging out across what I call the decentralized web. You see buyers, visitors, on social networks, on blogs, on email, on mobile, on offline devices, and you want to interact with all of them. Yet, as big as all of these are, and if you look at the top ones, there are billions and billions of users here. There's no way to actually monetize them. So we've talked a lot and we've heard a lot about social media and how to engage with them, but we haven't yet been given the ability to directly go out and make those viewers into buyers. The second trend, and something that really, really troubles us, is that buying and selling online today is still extremely hard. If you look at just the checkout abandonment rate, I mean, this is depressing. About 72% is, again, the conservative low estimate of checkout abandonment across all of devices. If you put it on just mobile, it's 97%. When you really dig into this, you figure out that about a third of the people leave because the process ends up taking too long. Another third of the people leave because they have to create an account. Or in the wonderful case of PayPal, they think they have to create an account because it's that complicated. And so if we can just fix some of these issues, not only can conversions be higher, but we can also have a much better process for buying online. And that's sort of a very simple, subtle concept that my personal company is based on. This is why we exist. So we thought, and we asked ourselves, what if we can actually keep the buyers wherever they already are? Keep you on the same environment, you're used to it, you're probably logged in, and just make the transaction seamlessly happen there. And with that, let me tell you just a little bit about Ribbon so that this makes sense. Ribbon is a payments company that allows you to sell products, not only on your own website in traditional means, but also inside of all of these different networks. We can do payments inside of your Facebook fan page, directly on the newsfeed. We can do payments inside of Twitter, inside of YouTube, and we're working on more. You can sell physical and digital files. For digital items, we handle digital download delivery. And in addition to all of that, we also have a ton of tickets, donations, and services like workshops or whatnot being sold. And since this is such a new concept, I think it's better to actually show you what I mean by in-stream payments rather than just talking about it. So the way it works is that you add a product and you get a unique short URL. This is a $500 burger. Now this leads to a one-page checkout and we can very quickly and easily purchase the item. But here's where the magic really happens. If you copy and paste this onto your own website, the entire transaction occurs right then and there. The buyer never leaves the platform. We're still on the same site. And what we're finding is that that drives conversions up a lot. On Facebook, we went a step further. So let's try and actually just copy and paste this link. So again, all the seller needs to do is just copy and paste. We make selling across multiple platforms as easy as copy and paste. Let me go, sorry. I don't know why that didn't post. Buy this burger. Oh, there it is. Very cool. So same exact link, but if we click on it from inside Facebook, magic happens, where it expands directly in your newsfeed and you're able to purchase the item right then and there. It's taking some time to load. taking a little bit more time than is usual. If I can go back, on the left, this is what it would look like. And you can click on the Buy Now and directly put in your credit card within your newsfeed, and you're done. Let's see if it actually loaded. Nope. Let's go back to the slideshow. So that's basically in-stream payments on Facebook that happens directly on the newsfeed without you ever leaving. We're having brands do this on fan pages. We're having people do it on their personal pages. We're even having tickets for conferences and such happen on the event page, where you go, you RSVP for the event, and you purchase the ticket right then and there without ever leaving. On Twitter, it's even easier. You can simply reply to a tweet with the words buy and instantly purchase the item. And we are releasing YouTube very, very soon, where picture a product review or a film trailer or a teaser. And at the end of the video, you're able to purchase the item, again, right then and there. And with that, let me just tell you two very quick stories about people that have used the platform. One is Paul Wall. He's a Grammy-nominated rapper who has 200,000 likes on Facebook and a few 100,000 on Twitter. And he used Ribbon to sell directly to his fans and followers, bypassing the record labels and interacting with them directly. And just last night, at around midnight, he released a mixtape. And he was selling about 600 an hour, just directly to his own fans and followers, and that's extremely powerful for us. But the second story is there because this isn't just for celebrities. It's for small businesses as well. And one of my favorite stories of Ribbon and its usage came from this cover band that actually used it to run a charity concert. And they have less than 200 fans on Facebook. I think 180 something. But they're highly engaged. And they ended up selling directly to their fans and followers on Facebook and an email listserv, and of course outside the club directly on mobile, because the entire thing is mobile optimized. Ended up raising $4,000 in just one night by selling directly there. And that's the story of Ribbon. If you'd like to hear more or ask me any questions, there's my email, or just come out afterwards.
Round of applause for Haney. Great presentation. So when are you being bought?
Never.
Never. You're never selling out? Have you been on? Have you had the offers?
Of course we have.
You've had the VCs?
Of course we have.
You've done Sand Hill?
We've done Sand Hill. We've raised a good-sized round, so we just closed $1.6 million. We don't plan on doing a quick sale.
So I have something I want to sell, right? How much do you keep? How much do you take? What's
so
the split?
we keep 5% plus 25 cents per transaction on each item sold.
So 5% of the overall amount. That's why it was the $200 hamburger?
That $500.
Sorry,
and that item was not created by me. It's
No.
my favorite item on Ribbon because it's so outrageous.
Right. Do people actually buy it?
No, but 20 of his friends have liked it on Facebook. So
Wow. So it's eventually someone's going to buy it.
yeah, I love that item. It's just
So what is the biggest challenge facing your company moving forward? Because clearly everybody wants to do this. You've obviously got down. When we saw what you were doing, we were pretty impressed, very skeptical, right? Because we're like, well, okay, how is Facebook allowing this? All this. So what's the biggest challenge facing your company in sort of overcoming this? Or is it just a matter of time?
Well, of course it's not smooth sailing, but
Why not?
just because building a company is hard. That said, we're not too afraid of Facebook entering this or Twitter entering this because we're built from the ground up to be multi-platform. Ribbon is not commerce for Facebook. Ribbon is not commerce for Twitter. We're a payments company that is commerce on all platforms. And it degenerates beautifully into the one-page checkout URL if all else fails.
Right.
And so if Facebook ends up creating something similar and Twitter ends up creating something else similar, I can still go to the sellers, and Ribbon would be a better option because not only do we support Facebook and Twitter, but we also support a whole array of other options. And they would use just one player.
And you go in via the API?
Sometimes we do.
Okay.
We are releasing plugins for WordPress, Tumblr, Blogger. And the button that I showed where the entire transaction happens on your website, you can simply copy and paste it, but on the blogging platforms will allow that directly.
Nice. Are there some questions? Yes, sir, at the back. Jay, have you got a microphone? Well, I'm less skeptical, but I'm still, I want it to work. We're going to put it on our site.
Give it a couple years. Everyone will be doing this.
Hello.
So if I had my
Sorry,
own,
who are you? Where are you from?
My name's Robert, and I work for CMF, web analyst. Yeah, so I have a question. If I had my own music and I wanted to have it purchased through Facebook, I understand that I would need a Ribbon account, but would the user themselves have to, before they're about to purchase a transaction, would they need an account themselves? So,
Great question. Not at all. You don't need an account yourself. The process is really, really easy for buyers. We actually go a step further. We don't require an account, but we will try our hardest to actually log you in from wherever you came from. So if your buyers have bought it through Facebook, they put in their credit card, and what we'll do is automatically take that credit card and pair it up with their social ID. Because we know who they are, and they just put in their credit card number. And so we want to give them one-click checkout the next time they buy. And we can do this on Facebook and Twitter today.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Haney. We really appreciate it. A round of applause for Haney. All right, moving right along. Next up, we have Rhonda McEwen. She's an assistant professor at the University of Toronto. She's going to be talking about a new worldview, iPod and iPad devices for communication and society. Rhonda actively engages with questions on how we use, seek, share, and create information, and considers the consequences of the uses of technologies on our communication, sociality. That's a new word. I learned something today, and humanity. Oh, and the humanity, sociality. You know what, I'm just going to get off the stage. Welcome, and we're looking forward to your presentation. Thank you.
So I'm going to see if this comes up here. All right. Substantively, normally, my world is social media. I teach, I think when Paul spoke earlier about content, a lot of my students at the University of Toronto in Mississauga, hi Rob, we focus on creating content across different media types. So I actually teach them how to write content and how it's different if you're writing for Twitter versus writing a blog and so on. So we practice that. I also teach a course in mobile application development. So mobile apps, students are building that, CS students, design students, and so on. And the last thing I focus on is 3D scripting and modeling for virtual worlds. So that's really what I teach. And then I got this detour in my career where I was asked to think about what social computing means for people who have trouble with being social, and a particular population, people with autism. And so I decided to take this project on. It's 3 years we worked on it. I worked within the Toronto District School Board, and we collected data on how people who can't speak can use some of these tools, some of these mobile tools, some of these tablet tools to interact with the world. And so that's actually what I'm going to share with you today. So yeah, you can look me up in a second. The project was called Touch Technologies in the Classroom. And what we wanted to do was basically research how we could introduce iPads and iPod Touch devices into Toronto schools. And we ran it from junior kindergarten, so from 4-year-olds up to grade 8s. And we had some really fascinating results. We had 70 students take part in the study. It's the biggest study, this is the longest running and biggest study in the world. We had 60 Minutes come up and do a nice piece on the school, and they've received quite a lot of media. But what we're finding, a lot of you probably know quite a bit about autism. It's out there, lots going on. But one of the things about autism is that it's defined as a difference in social thinking. And all of us in this room, we're all interested in social media, social commerce, all these interesting things. What is it about the brain and social engagement and devices? Where do those things interconnect? And so that's what I was looking at. So autism can be described as an absence or impairment in that social instinct, which is at the heart of what we are all interested in. So basically what we can see is that, around the age of 3 to 5, autistic children are likely to demonstrate less of an understanding of interacting with others spontaneously, imitating others, communicating non-verbally, and taking turns. And so for years, and I mean right up to today, you'll still find people who will say that these are people who have problems with social engagement, i.e. they don't like to socialize. And what the research is showing is that that's actually quite incorrect, and and contrary to that, children with autism actually love making connections. They love being social. In the work that I do in virtual worlds, we find that they love being deeply immersed in 3D avatar-based kinds of environments because they don't have to deal with a whole lot of other things that they don't really, their brains aren't wired to deal with. How the world has tried to interact with particularly children with these issues is that they take little pictures and they laminate it, and then you put it on these boards, and it's called the picture exchange system, and the child's supposed to rip up one of these and come and give it to you, and then you exchange it for the object. I mean, 2013, that's where we've been, right? So in the school, the teachers thought, what would happen if we actually tried to use multimedia devices? And so one of the teachers took her iPod Touch into the school a couple years ago, found that the kids were like glued to it. She was beating them off with it. She eventually had to hide it, on her person. And what we find is that there is something interesting happening with multimedia devices, which are multi-purpose. They give immediate feedback, something around the fact that it's haptic, so they get a little vibration or a buzz off of the surface. And of course, these are very scalable. You don't have to wait for the lamination machine to come free and, wait in line. And they're horrible machines, I mean, I'm telling you. You could take a picture on your iPod or your iPad, load it right in, boom, you're done. So teachers were rejoicing. I had a little video. I'm not sure I'm going to run it. I know it's very cute. It's probably the cutest part of the presentation. Oh, look at you guys are so mean. They made me run it. I wasn't going to run it. Not long. 3 minutes. 3 minutes. So here's a little girl, Maya. She's 7.
Guitar.
And she said, this is how she can ask for it. Guitar. Instead of that little peck thing, she gets her little guitar. So that's one little quick example of actually using that instead of having to deal with fine motor problems. Here she is trying to do a little matching game.
Lime. Cherry.
And her parents said to me that her intellectual abilities were so low that she wasn't functioning anywhere near her age group. And then, boom, in a game, she could actually easily do it. And so what the teachers did, see, I told you it was the cutest part. Yay, see? There's a monkey doing backflips. I cannot do this. So what we found is that we could take these devices and integrate it into the classroom for all kinds of things. Visual schedules, instead of carrying around these giant boards, teachers could carry around the devices and tell the kids what's coming next. Let them use it for expressive communication. It's being used in circle time. O Canada has taken on a whole new perspective in this school. It's fantastic. And for play, as a reward for doing, boring stuff, and for transitions, which can be very difficult times for these kids. Our results are kind of mind-blowing, actually, and so the study's kind of taken off on its own, and I've let it go because it's no longer mine, it's theirs, and so the community has taken it over. But in terms of the children, 9 out of 12 children basically blew past their established communication goals that had been there for years. Within 1 month of working on this, they just shot right through it, and the teachers had some really interesting things to say. And here you can see some of the interaction of the children. These are children who don't like to be near their peers, and here they are wanting to be near each other, trying to interconnect. And just a couple quotes from some of the teachers. One said, one of my students has been getting through his afternoon routine super quickly with the iPad as his reward, and yesterday he shared it with another student all by himself, and the two of them played the hockey game together. I'm a happy teacher. Another teacher says, a student in my class initiated communication with the iPad. He scrolled through his pics, found the picture of outside, pressed it, so we went right outside. And finally, and I quite like this quote, it's hard to impress upon people that the gains are small, but we are trying to explain that every small gain is so huge for these guys. The quality of life implications are huge. I know we tend to work in the commerce world, but sometimes we get diverted, and we can see that what we do, there's almost a higher purpose to this. And talk about affordability. These kinds of devices that were purpose-built before these mainstream applications or devices came on board were between $10,000 and $30,000 each, and all they could do was help a child communicate. Parents are like, when I'm in the grocery and the child's getting bored, I just flip on a video. It's got multi-purpose. So any of this research or any of the other things, if you have jobs or internships for my students, this is how you reach me. But yeah, just think of how people repurpose the things we build for a very particular purpose. It can go and do something quite different.
Round of applause for Rhonda. Wow. Thank you so much, because I gotta say, I'm a bad person. I've spent a lot of time thinking, all I'm thinking about is like, okay, well, how are we gonna monetize this stuff? But I didn't think that there. I was really inspired, and I really appreciate it, because I think that we do spend a lot of time thinking about the commerce aspects when this is such a big accomplishment. What are you doing next? Like, now it's down to $500 for these tablets. It's really affordable, but what's the next thing?
Well, the next thing is actually, that initial thing we found out is that the social thinking, what we're trying to do is interconnect what parts of the brain actually fire up when we use mobile and tablet devices for anything. So I've actually taken it out of the autism population. We're now looking at neurotypical population, and we're thinking about, and it does apply to perhaps every social marketer, what is it that is keeping people online and connected to these devices?
And what are you finding? Like, what do you anticipate? Because obviously you haven't got into it, but what are you anticipating? What are you seeing in the research?
Well, I'm working with a psychologist, a cognitive psychologist, and we're actually looking at the part of the brain that's being connected and associated with
Are you using MRI, like scanning MRI, as people are using tablets? Wow. And have you done any?
Kids, we're in the field with a whole bunch of kids at TDSB looking at how math on these devices somehow fires up a different part of the brain than when they learn math on their textbooks.
And what are you finding?
That it is a different part of the brain, and there is actually a growing sense of that hyperlinked brain where you have to move from thing to thing, and where pedagogically we usually go step by step, that the brain is actually also changing.
Because I recently saw an Oxford study about how that kids who are like 18 and 19, their brains are actually, it's the first time in human evolution we've seen that the brains are wired completely differently because of all these mobile devices. They did that, I guess, do you see that?
We're seeing something similar, but we're interconnecting it with not just mobile, but with social. So we're looking at social computing and what's happening in the brain.
Are there any questions? Yes, at the back, roll. Just let me grab you oh no, we can get it to you. Sorry, and there's one from Deb as well, too. Quickly, roll. Yep.
Right. So to what extent do you think autism is an attention-related disorder?
Partially, it definitely is. Whether or not that is because of autism or autism, what causes what is what we're not sure about. But we can definitely see that the attention span, that was an actual variable we tracked for 3 years, but you can actually you can train the brain to grow that attention span. And so we actually saw that with certain kinds of applications that we used on the devices, that we were expanding the ability of that child to focus on one activity for a particular amount of time. So it's two sides. Some kids will focus on one thing all day long, right? And so that works for some, but others do have a problem with attention deficit.
Thanks.
Deb, do you want a quick question? Yep.
Hi, Deb Day, Innovate by Day. I'm curious, what do you anticipate is the difference with how these young brains are socially computing? What do you think the distinctions may be?
Well, a large part of it has to do with motivation. So that's one of the big things we actually know. We're going into this study based on the last one, knowing that there's something just more intrinsically motivating about being on these devices. And also we're looking at learning games. But for sure, there's a connection between motivation, but we're working on a theory that has to do with the haptics and the actual touching a device and getting a response immediately. So there's something about the immediacy of the response and the actual physicality and the touching of the
So it's almost like they're being heard.
Exactly.
Wow. Big round of applause for Rhonda. Thank you very much. Great presentation. Okay. I'm apologizing again for the coldness. I'm sorry it's a bit cold. We've asked for the heat to be put up. I'm not sure what's happening. We're trying to figure it out. I know it's a bit drafty. I don't know why the air conditioning is on when it's minus 20 out, but we're gonna work on it. And we know you're all Canadian and you'll tough through it, right? Stay with me. All right. Up next, Asif Khan is the founder and president of the LBMA, the Location-Based Marketing Association. And when Asif told me, I think it was 3 years ago, was it 3 years ago, that he was going to do this, I was like, awesome. Because I was really into location at the time, and he says, I'm going to start a location-based marketing association. I'm like, great. Now we're on Foursquare together. I see he sort of travels like I travel, but I think he travals more. He is all over the world all the time talking about this stuff. And he's going to talk about today the effective use of location-based marketing. I'm not going to spend any more time giving you any background. He's an amazing guy. Come on up.
Thanks, Kevin.
No problem.
All right. Yeah, I do travel a lot, and it's good to be home here in Toronto. So very quickly, if you're not familiar with us, we're a nonprofit 3-year-old industry association based here in Toronto with chapters in some of the cities that you see there. And we look at this thing called location-based marketing. How many people here use Foursquare? Just quick show of hands. Okay, so a good number. Location-based marketing for us is not about Foursquare. It's one tiny element of the ecosystem around location. We define that term as the intersection of people, places, and media. And the reason we do that is we believe every form of media can be location-based. When we look at places in that definition, it's any place. We don't care whether you're in your office, you're in a pub after work, you're in a store on your way home, or in your living room. It's a location. Nor do we care what media is in front of you in that location. Radio, billboard, television, online, mobile, social, all of those things can be location-based if we understand who's in front of them, where they are while they're consuming and interacting with that media. So the ecosystem is very challenging for a lot of the brands that we work with and we represent as an industry association. And we describe that ecosystem in these kind of 3 rings here. The inner ring being, that orange ring being the technologies that we use today for determining where somebody is right now. 90% of what happens as far as location sharing in North America is done via mobile apps on a smartphone using the GPS chip in that smartphone. In a lot of other markets in Asia and in Europe, for example, much more of it is happening over cellular tower triangulation, from the carriers themselves, and using SMS as a vehicle for delivering geo-targeted messages. And when you get inside of buildings, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth take over where GPS fails because of walls and bricks and concrete. But we wrap around that, as I said, the entire media ecosystem of all forms of media, because all of them can be location-based. And I'm going to illustrate that with a couple of examples as we go. The mobile ecosystem, the green ring, is the one that's really confusing because we have platforms emerging today in all of these areas: payments, mobile payments, augmented reality, couponing, deals, loyalty platforms. It goes on. And every one of these guys is going to brands and going to retailers and saying we have the newest, greatest location-based something. And it's true, it's all location-based. Everything we do is location-based, but we need to bring some clarity to that. 3 or 4 things I'm going to share with you really quickly is the relationship between physical location and the delivery of content. Already we're seeing a shift away from people sharing their location in exchange for getting a deal or a coupon or some incentive around that. That was sort of the early version of what was happening, Foursquare specials, Groupons, all that kind of stuff. We're seeing a move towards the reward being content, and several platforms are emerging around that. On the top left, you have a platform out of New York called Broadcaster, and just recently released a new version of that called Spun. And what you have here is audio and video sharing and tagging tied to physical maps. You go to places and you pull up this app and you can hear messages that have been left there in audio frameworks or video frameworks connected to that physical location. Wanderlust is an app that was launched at South by Southwest last year, created by a bunch of playwrights. And what they did was they wrote a play. Plays have acts to them. They distributed the acts of those plays around the city of Austin. And if you wanted to get the next act of the play, you had to go to a different part of the city. So you have content being tagged and delivered specific to a particular geographic location. There's also a band in the US called Blue Brain, which has released the first location-based albums. They go to places as a band like Central Park, they write music about how they feel about being in the park, then they release that as an app that you can only listen to when you're in Central Park. So you have these kinds of things happening all over the place. You have a relationship between location and gaming also emerging really quickly. It was interesting to hear the Get Set games and the Phantom stuff as well, because we're seeing this come closer and closer together. One of our members is Rovio, the makers of Angry Birds, and they've been working really hard to extend Angry Birds beyond just what happens on that tablet or on that device itself. And you're creating relationships between the gaming platform itself and the players who play those games with physical bricks and mortar locations. We worked with them in China and McDonald's, and what happens is most people who play a game like Angry Birds, you download that free version, you get through the free levels pretty fast, you never buy the paid version. So making money for Rovio, other than the advertising dollars in there, there's nothing happening. So what happens is you go and sign a deal with McDonald's, and you say to the user base, go to a McDonald's, while you're there connected to our free Wi-Fi, you can unlock new levels of the game or a special weapon or a special something that you can't get unless you're in the building. You have the delivery of content or some advantage in the game being connected to you being in a physical bricks and mortar location. This is what location-based marketing is about. It's not about coupons and check-ins. That's a very, very small part of the ecosystem. It is about the delivery of content, however. Another example I want to show you is this video of one of our members in Russia bringing the relationship between physical location again through a mobile app and connecting it to an online experience that you'll see here. If we could play the video, please. Do I click or? Oh, nope. You had to click in the middle of the video. Let's try that. Here we go.
The Village, an online city newspaper that really cares for the city and its citizens. Douche parking is a huge problem in cities in Russia. Okay, there aren't many places to park, but there are people who just don't care about others. The Village.ru has decided to make such behaviour socially unacceptable using digital media. We've created a free app. It takes pictures of wrongly parked cars, recognises car number plates, the car model and colour. The data is streamed live to banner ads that are targeted through an IP address. So people who live or work close to locations where these cars were parked see it. These banners appear as pop-ups on websites, so you can see the actual car and its registration number that has been photographed, interrupting you while you're trying to read an online article. When you roll your cursor over the banner, it lets you know that this particular car is annoying people in a certain street in your city right now. In order to get rid of this annoying car, you simply share the photo of the parking douche on social media, such as Facebook. Then it'll disappear. Thanks to your IP address, only douches in your area will be highlighted, so all the offenders will be exposed to their colleagues, friends and neighbours. Thanks to this naming and shaming campaign, more and more people are now caring about where and how they park. ITR percentage over 70% and huge buzz in social media due to shares and likes.
So you can create relationships between location and any form of media is what we're trying to get at here. And at the end of the day, what we have to think about is location is really data. And my last slide is this, is to get you to think about, at the end of the day, location is just a piece of data that we can use to understand where somebody is right now and leverage that into any form of media. We did a research project last year where we took a couple of buses in New York City, we took those digital screens on the side of the buses, and instead of selling that ad inventory in the traditional way, what we did is when the bus stopped at an intersection at a red light, and as pause, we gathered in real time all of the check-in data across every platform, Foursquare, Google, Goala, everything else that was available to us, and we built a real-time aggregate demographic profile. And then we served an ad in the side of the bus to reflect the people who are actually at the intersection. And when the bus moved, we did it again. So you have a whole different way to look at how media is going to be delivered in the future. And obviously, we did that as a research project, but anyhow, there you go, location-based marketing. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. I got asked the question, maybe you know, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff being written about Foursquare at the moment, about its imminent demise, right? And you and I use it a lot. Yep. I use it on my Android, I use it on my iPhone, and I've noticed that it's sort of waning. As you point out here, if location is going to be the most important thing, where do you think the next app is coming from? Is it going to be an app, or is it just that everything's going to have to be location enabled?
I think everything has to be location enabled. We talk about a world where every person, place, and thing is geotagged and addressable, and that allows us to create relationships between those things. So that's not quite there. We're addressable from the devices in our pocket today, and some things out there are, but like, for example, a print billboard today is not geo-addressable. We don't know where it is, and we don't know what content is on it today, other than the billboard companies know that. So we can't create a relationship that way, that easily. But that's what has to happen.
Okay. Are there any questions? If there are, just raise your hand so that we can get a mic to you. The next question I quickly had was around privacy, right? We've been doing some stuff with mobile companies, and we're pulling a lot of data. We're talking about a lot of data. Like, we know where people are, we know what their phones are, we know what they're doing. And there seems to be not a lot of talk about this. As the Location-Based Marketing Association, how are you guys addressing the privacy issues that are starting to raise? I mean, they're not a big deal yet, but I think that if people knew what we knew, they wouldn't be having their phones as much around.
Yeah, I think it's an education issue. I think people are actually, it's about an exchange of value. Privacy, you know, around location sharing is about value exchange. So at the end of the day, we're willing to share our location, we're willing to share that information if we're going to get something that's personally valuable and relevant to us as individuals. When you looked at Foursquare, you know, launching 3-4 years ago, initially we saw that user data was 80% male, less than 20% female, something like that. The same data today is 50-50. In fact, more women are sharing than men. So what's changed? Initially, the media thought, well, more women are more concerned about sharing their location, privacy, stalking, etc. In fact, it's relevance of campaigns that's changed, that's made that number shift. So Foursquare goes and says, you know, partners with Jimmy Choo and says, check in here for a chance to win free shoes. Women don't care about privacy, they just want shoes.
I'm going to be over here.
It's true, though. And we're seeing this more and more now with all sorts of major brands getting involved in targeting specific demographics and providing relevant value exchanges.
I know we're going to be, my last question is, I know we're going to be talking with some of the mommy bloggers this afternoon just about what they're doing. 83% of the buying decisions made by females, and some of a consumer standpoint. How do you see location affecting that?
Yeah, great question. And you know, if you're familiar with Foursquare, there's actually a friend of mine, Catherine Tucker in New York, that you might know, runs a Foursquare copycat app called Red Rover, which is targeted specifically for moms. And so it basically, you share your location, you find other moms around you, you set up play dates with friends, with your kids, all that kind of stuff. So I think you're going to start to see these purpose-built communities.
So sort of like Trender is for here.
Like Trender is for that. But you're going to see these purpose-built apps and communities for specific demographics. You know, I think it's kind of the way of the future. But the other part of it is I think watch for a company like eBay or PayPal to kind of start to really move in the ecosystem. You know, they've been going out and buying up the right companies. Like, you know, they own Red Laser, they own Milo for real-time product inventory. They own, you know, obviously they can do payments. You know, they bought Ware, which was a Foursquare competitor. So when you roll that all together, what you have is a single app potentially that optimizes the entire shopping experience, or, you know, consumable experience.
Great presentation. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Applause for Steve. All right. As we move into the second part of the afternoon, how's everyone feeling? You feeling okay? All right, so let's meet someone you don't already know. Come on. Say hello to someone you haven't met today. Go out of your way. Go out of your way. You ready? You're okay. Your stuff's at the back, right? Okay, cool. Great presentation, guys. Thanks a lot. It's really great.
It's confounded everybody.
The what?
I want to see the clicker that's confounded.
Yeah, I think it's this one. You're supposed to just put that big. I don't understand why people. I think they were pushing this one.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, it's too green, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Excellent. Excellent. Great job. Excellent. Good job. Okay, really. Not the life story. Just hello. Just hello. Not the life story. Not the life story. Okay, really. Yes. No, 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 no. No. No, no, no. Okay, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Excellent. Really? Okay, great. I hope you met, has everyone met 3 people now that they didn't know before? Has anyone not met 3 people they didn't know before? Because I can help you introduce you to someone. Anybody? Everyone's met 3 people? Okay, great. My job is done. Now, we're going to have a poll a little bit later, and the poll is, because my staff never stopped saying this to me, do I look like Bradley Cooper? No, I don't, right? I do not look like him at all. Right? I don't look like him at all, right? Who thinks I look like Bradley Cooper? Put up your arms. See? They don't. There's not that many people. I'm not putting it up there because I know you'll take a picture and put it out on the... Okay, let's move on. We work very closely with Bitly, and how many people are aware of what Bitly is? Okay, great. So you're starting to understand. So what Bitly is, if you've never used it before, is called a link shortener. And sometimes when you see a URL, if you look at the top in your browser, you'll see a URL that has like maybe 100 different characters. The issue is that what Bitly does is they shorten that for you. And then what's really interesting is that I don't know if Jonathan, can you pop up yeah, and we're just going to show you exactly what happens, because I think it's something that everyone should know about. If you have a Bitly link, or you see a Bitly link on the web, whether it's in Facebook or it's in Twitter, what happens is you can add a plus to the end of it, for example. So you can see here it's bit.ly/WBLS live, and we've added a little plus to the end. So if you ever see a Bitly link, take it, copy it into your browser, and add a plus. This is free data. Ready? Go ahead. So this data you can go and look at any time you want. So what we do at JumpWire is we use Bitly links in order to track URLs that we want to understand what's going on. So here we've got all sorts of information. The number of clicks, the time, scroll down a little bit, where they came from, what the locations were, whether it was in the United States, where the referrer was it coming from email clients, was it coming from Facebook? So we think that Bitly is very important moving forward. They're doing some really interesting stuff, but I wanted to show you how we use it and how we have our clients use it. Brian's going to talk to you today a lot about the data. And Brian, I met, I think it was last year. His dad works for NASA. Sorry, it doesn't work. There's no space program anymore, FYI. His dad's now out of a job and looking for a job. He's now supported by Brian. I'm just riffing here. So he's going to be talking about using big data to grow your audience. He also has an almost unhealthy fascination with Hadoop, the game theory, and all things big data related. And we're really excited to have him here. He gives a great presentation. Please welcome Brian from Bitly.
All right, let me make sure I can do the remote correctly. Boom. Gifted. All right, my talk today is using big data to grow your audience. My name is Brian Off. I'm from Bitly. We're located in New York. A lot of you know about it. That's great. The plus, really nice hack. Let's see. Button. This is one of those quotes that I always love. There go the people. I must follow them, for I am their leader. If the please wait got off. And I feel like this is how a lot of people are thinking about big data. They know it's popular, it's rushing, I got to be in front of this, it's going that way. And the secret is, I don't really think people don't want big data. They say they want it, but there's way too much, it's too confusing. It's the same thing that if I'm hungry, I don't want flour or a stove. I want food, you know? And all too often, so many people come to our company and they're like, we love Bitly, give us all your data. It's like, you don't want all our data. It's over across 50 computers. It's massive. There's so much stuff in there. What people want is they want insights. So you can't really do something with data. Insights is something you can perform an action with. But the good thing about big data that it does do well is it gives you two things. It gives you context and confidence. So context, if all you knew was what happened in your world, you don't really know how it exists. If like your link gets 10 clicks, is that good? Is that bad? Big data puts everything in some sort of context. This is what the world looks like, and this is what your part of the world is. So the more data, the more understanding of where you fit in the world comes. And confidence just comes from statistical confidence. The more data you have, the better your models are, the better your classifiers are, the better your understanding. So Bitly kind of exists in this weird middle ground. You know, we were a URL shortener, we still are, and we provide a lot of analytics, and we kind of exist like the panopticon, which is a prison term or architectural term, where you can see everything that's going on, but a lot of people can't see what you're doing. So links are shared on Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and Pinterest, and we get a lot of data about what time and how people are using it. So I'll just give you a little example. This was one of the first things I started looking at when I came to Bitly. It's just how people use different devices over different parts of the day. So I made a bet with someone that I could predict when the iPad was used, and I won the bet, so that made me happy. But it's just how the iPad is used throughout the time of the day. It's used much more heavily in the evening, not so much earlier in the morning or mid-afternoon. And using these insights, people structured how they promoted different tablet content. A couple like months after I did that, the Business Insider posted this graph, which made me feel good about myself because it's like the exact same graph. So it's always nice to know that your data matches up with other people's interpretation of the data. I also did some analysis on when was the best time to post on various social and networking sites. So Facebook versus Tumblr versus Twitter, and how the time and the day of the week that you posted affected the average number of traffic you get. Now, the bad secret about most things put on social network is it's like the YouTube, it gets 2 views. So when you look at the average, it's very misconstrued by these huge spikes, right? So if you think more about the median amount of traffic, most sites only get a few clicks. But to best get the average up, you can change the time of the day or the day of week it was posted. So they're not all the same. Twitter has a different kind of life cycle than Facebook, than LinkedIn, than Pinterest. The other thing we started looking at is this idea of the half-life of data, right? So if I post a story on Twitter, how long will it actually live? How much traffic will it get? And it's surprisingly fast. So you post something on Twitter, it's probably got about 30 minutes to get to its max amount of traffic, and then it's gonna die pretty quickly. Links shared to YouTube have a little bit more of a longer lifetime, so the video has more traction with people. So, and this is what doing really well usually looks like if you think of traffic patterns. So someone posts something, or they shorten a link and then they post it on Twitter and it gets a large amount of clicks very quickly, and it dies very quickly. It follows a nice power law distribution, or power law pattern if you can think. There is a little bit of a second spike there, which is kind of hard to see, but for the most part, this idea of something going viral is incredibly rare. If the Washington Post posts something on Twitter, it's going to get a substantial number of people very quickly, it's going to slowly fade, and then it's off. It's not going to get much traffic after that. Some people try to get over this by posting multiple times. They'll take the same content, post multiple times a day, to hopefully get patterns of these spikes. So when I was thinking about growing the audience, one of the things I was really impressed with was what Red Bull did with the Felix jump. You know, I know nothing about falling out of a capsule into the earth. Red Bull's fine. But it was amazing because you can see very early on where Red Bull was the ones promoting the story. That's the 6 p.m. there. So their audience, they were promoting it. But then all these other spikes are hundreds of different people. So at some point, Red Bull didn't even have to promote their content. Other people started writing stories about their stories, about stories, and how this content sort of took a life of its own, to the point where they still use the Felix jump in all their advertisements, and they probably will for years. Just because it's this thing where the best case scenario is content gets a life of its own and people share it for you, people write about it for you. For The Guardian, for the past Olympics, The Guardian was really excited about doing something for the Olympics. And what we came up with is this idea of understanding athlete popularity. And so going into the Olympics, there were all these really well-known names. Usain Bolt, Michael Phelps, which everybody knew. And we try to understand who were the darlings of the Olympics, who came out of nowhere and all of a sudden had a big impression. So as you can see, the Yu Shuwen, I think that's how it's pronounced, was a young Chinese swimmer who suddenly won, broke amazing records, but before the Olympics she was on nobody's real radar, and how that became a story very quickly. How am I doing?
You got a minute.
Excellent. I can do that. So one of the things about things that are shared on the internet is also you got to understand the internet is global, but content has a geographical interest. Right? Content is still very geographical. So there's a story yesterday about a $38 million home in Vancouver that's being torn down. And as you can see, it has this resonance in Toronto and Calgary and the United States. And so just understanding this idea that who the audience is going to be for your content, where they actually are, and hopefully changing that. So, and if I can give one suggestion or advice for using data to grow your audience, it's this idea of experimentation. You know, not one approach works for everybody, but the good news is we're in this amazing time period of experimentation on the web where A/B testing and multi-armed bandits have become incredibly popular. So the best advice I can give for you is to learn how to measure what you're doing, and then experiment, try to figure out when it goes right, when it goes wrong, and just iterate repeatedly. And that's usually the best way you can find your best standards for your type of content and your audience, because it's going to be different for everybody.
Thank you very much. That's great. Round of applause for Brian. We have a question right here. Ariel?
Run.
Hi, thank you.
I think it's not, what, this one right here. Yep, go ahead.
So you use a lot of quantitative data.
Yes.
And so
Stop, 1 second. Jeremiah, it's this mic right here. Can you just go test for me? Oh, you know what, I'm going to come with my mic, hold on. Wrong sorry.
So you use a lot of quantitative data when you're sort of analyzing things, and so is there a qualitative element at all when you're thinking about this in that landscape, or is it just purely bringing sort of insights from quant data?
Mostly we use quantitative data. When we do use qualitative data is often when I'm building algorithms to do more natural language processing sort of things. So this idea of what are the keywords in the story. So that's more qualitative, where I give a story to someone, I say, what are the most important sentences in a story? Yeah. And hopefully I can use that approach to build classifiers. The thing about qualitative, once again, is it's expensive data to get. It's incredibly inconsistent. What does keyword mean to one person versus the other? There is still a lot of surveys are still very heavily used, and still a really well-written survey can get you a lot of qualitative information, but then you're starting to figure out the biases of why people are giving you feedback for that. I try to stick as much with quantitative data as I can, but does that answer?
Yeah, no, it does. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, well, I've got hundreds, but I'll only limit to two. We're starting to see, in our world, this idea that social media, Canada, New York, social media is much more local than we'd anticipated. Right. I.e. that when people engage in social media, it's actually not on a global basis. It's that most of it, we would say, I'm just making numbers up, but 75 to 80% of the interaction happens with people who are in a local area, right? That is not necessarily always outside of that. And that what happens is it goes between nodes, right? So it's actually thrown between nodes or villages almost, but it's not this sort of global idea. Do you have any insight into something like that?
I think that's very much true, but I do think it evolves. So I can look back at the social network I had when I was in college, and I was those friends, and we all lived in the same place. But then as we slowly drifted apart, we still keep in touch by social networks. So is that a global social network or a local social network? Because at one time it was very much local, and how these things evolve. Like I have a job currently in New York, so a lot of interaction online I have, or a lot of Twitter friends or so forth, is between work and people I know in New York. But if I move away, it gets spread. I think local is where you make the strongest connections, and you want to keep them.
Cool. Can I ask you one last question? No. No, I know. I'm sorry. I won't. When you talked about Twitter and Facebook and those sorts of things. What do you see around Facebook's data from a Bitly standpoint? Because you're actually inside. You're one of the few companies inside Facebook because the data comes out of Facebook. Because Facebook doesn't release a lot of data. What are you seeing? Some insights that we could glean from that? Because I know you sort of skipped over it there. You talked a bit about Twitter, but I'm just interested to understand a bit more about Facebook.
A lot of heavy traffic coming out of their apps, which I didn't really expect.
What do you mean?
The apps embedding links inside of them, as opposed to links showing up on the newsfeed.
So give me an example.
I'm trying to think of a good one. Just a variety of games, how they get feedback is using Bitly links and so forth in the Facebook apps.
So you're playing the game, and then there's a comment section. They'll put a Bitly link in there, and then they link out of that to where? To their homepage. Oh, okay. So where people can have
to get back to it. So that's where I see a lot of the traffic. A little bit on the news, news feed. A lot of people posting. It's not normally the news of the day per se. It's usually news that are like BuzzFeed stuff that's a little bit older. So it's not breaking news in the way that Twitter is. It's more of humorous pieces.
And I guess the last thing is that we have Reddit here today, and you guys must get a lot of link coming out of Reddit. What sort of trends are you seeing as Reddit is becoming so much more popular and is moving away from its geekdom to this sort of mass market?
I don't really use Reddit that much. I'm
okay.
Yeah, walk it off.
I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm gonna walk it off.
I know.
But what are you seeing from the data? Do you see anything?
The Ask Me Anything is huge.
Ask Me Anything, okay.
Ask Me Anything is, that's taken on a life of its own. I mean, Obama did it, that just the amount of traffic that went to that so quickly, and that it's carried over to, one of my favorite reporters, Matt Taibbi, did it recently. The Ask Me Anything is huge. I think BuzzFeed's also kind of one of those organizations that's making the move into like a more serious domain.
Yeah.
Where BuzzFeed went from the place you got funny animal photos to long-form journalism.
Yeah.
And being really good at it. That's the thing that was scary.
I know, I have seen that morph, and I'm like, whoa.
And the reemergence of Dig.
Yeah, we could talk about Dig.
Those are my boys.
Those are your boys, Dig. Okay, thank you very much. Round of applause for Brian. Many of you, how many of you are mommy bloggers? Just checking out. No mommy bloggers here? Just checking. Yay. Tony, you're not a mommy blogger. You'd be a daddy blogger. Okay. So we wanted to have 83% of the consumer decisions being made by females. When, the internet really took off, when women came to it. That's Facebook, that's Twitter. Women rule the world, rule 1. Rule 2, see rule 1. So, there's a bunch of geeks and coding and all that sort of stuff, but it didn't really start to take off until women came involved. So we look at mommy bloggers, and I'm really excited to bring Minnow Hamilton up. She's the editor-in-chief and co-founder of Savvy Mom Media. Savvy Mom has grown from being a Toronto-based site to having over 50,000 subscribers in Canada. And they have articles tailored for Vancouver, Ottawa, Calgary, and a national edition so that moms and dads everywhere can get their helpful tips delivered in their trademark style. Please put your hands together for Minnow Hamilton.
Oops. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that I'm the only mom blogger in the room, so some of this might be new to you. I am the editor-in-chief and one of the co-founders of Savvy Mom Media. So some days I blog, some days I run the HR department, and some days they even let me into sales meetings. Is that better?
Yeah.
But most days I find myself steeped in the role of content curation. So I have a new title these days at work, that of Chief Curator. Oh, that was supposed to be the first slide. So I'm here to talk about the role of content curation in community building. And I have the perfect case study to share with you, Savvy Mom Media. We launched in September 2005 as an influential newsletter business, before the term influencer content was even a term. But we knew that we were onto something. We always agreed fundamentally that content is king, even if we weren't delivering late-breaking news or serious investigative journalism. What we set out to do from the get-go is connect with mums in a meaningful and respectful way by helping them. We help them with their everyday challenges they experience as a mum because we know and understand their lives. We can relate on an emotional level with their challenges, whether it's feeding organic food to their babies or choosing a lipstick for themselves. So by doing the work for our readers, by curating and delivering useful information about savvy products or Savvy Mom approved products, services, best local places to go with their families, we grew organically. That's for you, Brian. Our readers trusted us. They told their friends. We became their trusted advisors. They became loyal, and we created a community. So none of this is rocket science. It's pretty much basic editorial 101 stuff, but that's because it's still the backbone of any community built around content. The ability to match the right content with the right audience is critical. Top trending articles are helpful, but they're not enough. So today's world of digital content has changed immensely since our start in 2005. The sheer volume of information available to consumers, as well as the expectations of those consumers, has shifted the way we deliver and consume media. Women aren't just looking for an expert editor to review lipstick, they're looking for 5 different reviews of that lipstick. And they better be real, they better be authentic, and they better be trustworthy. But how do we find the ones we trust? We need a curator, and we need context. Enter the bloggers, today's new consumer advocates. Mums are reading them, and brands are hunting them down. Much like our Savvy Mum roots, the bloggers aren't delivering investigative journalism or are delivering late-breaking news, but they are tapping into the hearts and emotions of mums across North America. They share their own personal stories in honest and authentic ways. They're populating and they're maximizing every social network there is to share and find new members of their own communities. They're also growing organically, and they're building loyal followers. They support each other, and most of all, they collaborate. So a large part of our Savvy Mum content community today is made up of over 100 of Canada's top mum bloggers and their respective loyal audiences, covering topics such as special needs, home decor, food, simple reflections on life. The blog content is fresh and relevant, and it's abundant. The Savvy Mum brand has evolved from influencers to experts. We are the experts on premium influencer mum content. That's how we grew and nurtured our community, and we're using that expertise with the bloggers to direct them to reach mums in a meaningful way too, with respect and authenticity. So today my role as Chief Curator of Savvy Mum Media still involves finding the best baby food and lipstick, but now it also includes finding the best and most relevant mum blog content for our readers on the Savvy Stories channel. This is what that channel looks like on our website. Together with the local startup, we've created a newsroom-style content platform that allows us to feature content on our site and share traffic with the micro-publishers. We review, edit, and feature content submitted daily. That content is initially submitted through a content collection platform, while the actual curation is done by a real person. So to take Savvy Mum, our group of bloggers and their readers to the next level of community building, we'll be implementing tools to encourage a much deeper level of engagement on our site. We're working with another Toronto tech company building an infrastructure with functionality such as profiling, rating of content, and further enhancements that direct readers to comment and share even more. In an increasingly digitized world, the human element is as critical as ever and is a fundamental part of successful community building. From creating content to curating and delivering content, keeping it human is how to tap into the emotional needs of our readers. That emotional data is what separates the premium content from the rest, and that's what builds communities. You're making me nervous.
You have 1 minute.
Okay, good. This is my last slide. This is my last slide. Last slide. So these are just some takeaways for those of you who are looking to building your own content communities. So firstly, know your audience. The more you're able to tap into their emotional needs, the more you'll be able to connect with them in a meaningful way. Keep it real, keep it human, be honest, be authentic. Again, this is editorial 101 stuff, but always good to review. Keep it real, I said that. Be engaging, raise issues that are on the minds of your audience, find the tools that encourage deeper engagement, and finally, be relevant. Talk about the issues that are happening today.
Thank you very much. It's great. Round of applause, Bruno. Okay, so my big question for you is, what separates? It was great. I think Christina was saying there's a big Twitter war going on. They're not mommy bloggers, idiot Gavin. I'm like, they're people who do blog. No, that was me. That was me. I was saying me. You said, what did you say? I hate the term mommy bloggers. You hate the term mommy bloggers, which there are bloggers who happen to be moms with a diversity of stories and voices. Okay.
Or influential micro-publishers.
Okay, let's take it to the next level. Who wants to join in? Who wants to come on with another buzzword? Come on, we got one. It's a little bit warmer, right? You're feeling a little bit warmer now? Okay, good. Yeah, I'm feeling more relaxed. I want to ask you quickly, what's the difference between Canadians and Canadian bloggers who happen to be females or moms, and Americans. What do you see from your data? Like, what sort of things resonate here that don't resonate around the world, or that things that moms in Canada get really excited about that maybe don't work elsewhere?
Honestly, I'm not sure that there's that big of a difference with the two groups, except that the American mom blog community has been very prevalent for a much longer time. They're a deeper community. There's a lot more of them, so they've had that influence for longer, and they were able to influence the brands before their Canadian counterparts were. So we're just a little bit behind in growing and evolving that community up here in Canada.
And what do you think is the biggest challenge? What's the biggest change that you've seen in the time that you guys have been together? Like when you started blogging, having your blogs, is it a more sophisticated use of blogs? Has it changed overall what they're being used for? Have there been any trends that really sort of stand out for you over the last little while that maybe people would be interested in hearing about?
Well, the biggest trend with mom bloggers is just that is their popularity. I mean, on the part of the brand. So they've been popular with readers. They still have very small audiences, but I think because of, when you referred back to the American culture of mom bloggers, there's so many of them, and it is vast. And so brands in Canada have been expecting that same scale and influence. So they were coming to the mommy bloggers first before that sort of community was.
So they saw
there.
what was happening in the U.S. and they're like,
So-
okay, so Canada must be the same. But it's not a community that's actually got to that point yet.
It's very prevalent, it's very popular, and it's still very influential, but it's still very young. And so the concern in Canada, or at least my concern, is that the bloggers from inception, they've just started blogging, and already brands are trying to infiltrate their influence. And we need to make sure that they maintain that same level of authenticity, that they are able to develop their own voice independently and grow their audience before they start. So that's something that we're working on at Savvy Mom with this new community.
Can I ask the money question?
Yeah, I knew you would. What's your ask?
Don't be snarky with me. I'm just asking. I told you I was going to ask. You said go ahead. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. So yeah, just like as a mommy blogger, what are they? I mean, you can talk in generalities, but I want to get an idea. Is this something that people can make a living at in Canada, or is it something that's sort of you're passionate about and you're an early adopter?
It's a good question. We're asked that all the time. The opportunity of it's sort of like asking how you can make money on mobile, right? We talked about that earlier.
You can't.
The opportunity is really for consolidation. As an independent mommy blogger, I think that the big challenge obviously is to grow your audience and sell your audience. How do you sell that from display advertising? You're probably not going to make a living selling display ads as a mommy blogger, but as a publisher like ours, where we can if you can create an ecosystem whereby you can sort of long tail all these sites and not just sell ads for them, but also help them grow. We have a traffic sharing channel on our site where we're also actually helping them grow their traffic. So, and then we can represent them in selling ads, and not just display ads, but I think custom content and premium content opportunities are a big opportunity for us and for the bloggers moving forward.
Great. I've been a bit rude. Are there any questions out in the audience? Sorry about that. Sorry, right at the back. Yep. Ariel will run.
Hi, Jess Collins. I'm a strategist at Twist & Mash. We work a lot with mom bloggers. We've got brands that want to reach definitely the female parent audience. What would you say beyond the financial component to it, and beyond obviously extending their reach? What are some of the other priorities for moms who blog when they're working with brands?
That's a good question. It's not just a monetary thing for a lot of the mom bloggers. Some of them really, women, any bloggers blog for lots of reasons. They're not just becoming publishers. Some of them are suffering from mental illness and they want to share their stories. Some of them actually want to speak to brands and have their voice heard because they want to make changes. And a lot of them might be interested in writing books. They might be interested in becoming editors at a magazine or for a website. So there's lots of different reasons that moms blog, but the content is still out there, and it's good content, and it's influential, and it's being read. So we should be able to provide it to a wider audience.
Thank you very much. Round of applause for Minnow. Cheers. Okay. As you know, here at Cross Media, we're trying to have as many different silos as possible. We think music is very important. Kids are very important. We don't have adult entertainment or the porn industry here this year, but we would like to. The reason why we look at those three areas, music, kids, and porn, and not necessarily in that order, please, I know. But the reason is that these are usually industries that early adopt. Music has been decimated by the demise of the CD or the DVD or whatever. You know, children's programming, a perfect example of kids moving off traditional TV and onto different platforms, although that's a whole other debate. I'm sorry, go ahead. But what we thought is we needed someone from the music business who's doing innovative and new stuff. So we reached out to Jeffrey Remedios, from the president and co-founder of Arts and Crafts. He's going to be talking about digital disruption in the music business. He represents artists including Broken Social Scene, Feist, Stars, Dan Mangan, Timber, and many more. Oh no, sorry, I got that wrong. What's that one? Timber. Yeah, Timber, okay. And many more. Rolling Stone magazine recently cited Jeffrey as a key insider shaping the future of the music business. Please welcome Jeffrey.
So I can see. Hi, everybody. Sorry, I'm not in the porn business. It's not that exciting. And you're not a bunch of salivating, unsigned musicians. In fact, you're all fast, future-thinking tech people with your heads down in your laptops, but I'll try not to let my insecurities get the better of me. Today, I wanted to talk to you all about emotion. We've been talking a lot today about all these amazing technological advancements. And music, to me, and I think to everyone, is the ultimate emotional connector. At this stage in the digital transformation of our world, the story of disruption in music has been incredibly well told and well documented. People don't talk of Icarus flying high and burning his wings from going too close to the sun. They say, God, look what the music industry did. And they didn't listen to their consumers. They failed to recognize change. They tried to maintain the status quo, and now all their magic power is leaked out. So for our 7 minutes today, what I wanted to do was I wanted to talk to you a little bit about my upstart little company and what we've done to deal with this disruption in music. The climate we've faced over the last 10 years, how we've evolved and developed a culture of continuous change at Arts and Crafts, and how it's never been, in my opinion, a better time to be a music fan. How for us on the micro level, the individual artist level, it wasn't so much about us doing any disruption, it was about us embracing disruption and about developing our own approach. In 2003, along with Kevin Drew from Broken Social Scene, we founded and launched Arts and Crafts as a premium music-focused media and artist services company. We work with authentic, inspiring artists to grow and develop their careers, putting an equal measure of care and attention into the business of music, as we felt our artists did, into its creation. We offer a wide range of expertise and services customized to the specific goals of the different artists that we work with. For us, this is manifested as a record company, which is the model most traditionally you know, as a music publisher, a merchandiser, and a lot through direct-to-consumer and custom platforms from which we build these opportunities. We're based here in Toronto, and we now have a satellite office in Mexico City and a small office in Los Angeles. With our approach to the disruptions, we've been able to grow and prosper. And principally this has been by us working holistically with our artists as their partner, instead of in the traditional model, which is a series of adversarial relationships. And so from this new holistic structure, we've been able to experiment and try different things. So let me start by telling you a little bit about the music industry. It was originally built by crooks. Thus, all these checks and balances needed to be put into place to keep everyone honest. So the industry isn't so much one industry as kind of 4 or 5 separate industries and these sort of siloed different sections to it. The example I like the best is the music industry, working with music. Say you want to use a song in your commercial or in your movie, or you want to sell a song. It's akin to if you wanted to buy a car, you'd have to buy the car from one company, the tires from another, The company that sells the car and the tires don't talk to each other. There's no price precedent for either one, and only one set of tires fits on any one type of car. It's a tricky landscape that we find ourselves in. Throughout history, the single largest impact on the music business has been technology. But because of these siloed structures, the industry's response has traditionally and categorically been about how do we maintain the status quo and how do we resist the change. It's been about 120 years since we've had a music business. From the 1950s forward, we've had format shifts approximately every 10 years. Every time these format shifts happen, consumers are forced to repurchase their music collections, each new format cannibalizing the sales of the purchase of the former, and a marketplace that pushed people to rebuy all their favorite records. This continued until the late 90s, at which point the CD was so dominant it was the only way that anyone purchased music. The CD ostensibly is a perfect replication of a master. So come 1999 and Napster allowing the free distribution of MP3s, the public finally got what they wanted: unlimited choice, pure distribution. The industry's first reaction to this: sue Napster. The public's reaction back: uncontrolled peer-to-peer file sharing. It took 5 years until Apple in 2003 finally launched an alternative to this. And so rather than figuring it out themselves, the music industry relied on a tech company taking a large percentage each time they're doing it to solve their problems. Principally because the people selling the cars and the people selling the tires couldn't agree on anything. Digital Music News created this infographic using stats from the RIAA. And the size of this pie indicates the overall health of the music industry, but that red slice that's growing as time goes by is the CD market. And so what ends up happening is that slowly through the 90s, the CD takes over and you end up with a totally homogeneous marketplace, so that by the end of the 90s, the only way people bought music was through CD. But what happens from 2000 forward for the next 10 years is that all these other music formats come in, none of them replacing the CD, and instead what happens is you have this totally segmented, fragmented market in which the CD still drives how people do business, but what consumers want is now no longer homogeneous whatsoever. Instead, it's a wide open playing field with lots of different options going in different ways. So that leads me back to arts and crafts. The first thing we had to do was re-examine these siloed structures and figure out what we would do in order to get around some of these challenges. So we refocused and repositioned how we worked. We set up first as an artist services company. So rather than think about whether we were a record company or we were a music publisher, our goal was to help artists connect with fans and potential fans. And so how we did that was less important to us than the fact that we did that. We took the traditional music industry structure with all these different kind of pieces to it, and we rebuilt it in a way that we felt made sense, where it was us, and it was the artist, and we had enough transparency in what we did, which allowed us to connect with different fans. It's right, when you come up, it does make people nervous. It's okay. Now that we were set up, I'm just kidding. Now that we were set up, we were able to start experimenting. So in 2005, we launched our own digital download store. This was before iTunes had even come into Canada, and we were allowed to try different things. The digital transformation of music was a double-edged sword. So not only was it destroying some areas of the business, it was opening up new opportunities. And so in 2008, we were discovering all these burgeoning markets, enjoying and excited about the music we were making, until we opened up an office in Mexico City, which is now, we have almost 15 people there. We got to try different things with music. As a part of our marketing practice, we'd regularly give away music. We'd often give away full albums, and perhaps counterintuitively, whenever we did this, we'd see our overall sales of that album or albums like it increase. We'd try other experimentations, trying to do things that were pro-consumer, but a bit industry foreign in terms of what we did. And what happened in exchange when we did that was that our overall revenues, while the composition of our revenues changed, our overall revenues ended up increasing. And that finally, last slide, that got us to a point where what we focused on was building platforms upon which our artists could connect with fans and with potential fans. I stopped reading my notes about 6 minutes ago. Anyway, as the music business continues to lurch forward, we focus on audience. We've made this shift from moving units to moving people. We cannot rely on our aggregated past practice, which is something we've tried to maintain. We've built this culture of continuous change, where we learn fast, we failed fast, and we iterate fast. And for me, you know, I can think of perhaps easier ways to make a living, but I can't really think of any more satisfying work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's great. We have some questions from the audience? Yes, at the back. Right over there, Marina.
Feel free to pass on this if you want to. I'm just curious in your point of view on the role of piracy in getting music to new audiences.
You know, I kind of touched on this. I think it's a double-edged sword. I personally believe that high tides raise all boats, and you know, it's not fair. I mean, across any of the copywritten material that people don't get remunerated for their work, but at the same time, it's the industry's inherent in those ecosystems responsibility to give consumers a reasonable choice.
Ross.
Thank you. Jeff, you and I both know lots of people in the music industry, and I've asked this question to a number of them, and I'd be interested in your answer. And you touched on it briefly when you talked about giving away music of it. The Radiohead experiment. Was that successful? What was the fallout of that when they produced this album and they distributed it free over the internet? What was the industry take on that?
I think actually we should probably be a little more context. The Radiohead experiment was that you could pay whatever you wanted when you downloaded it, and I think it ended up being about $7.50 being the average, right?
Yeah, they never fully released their data, but people were able to reverse engineer a bit. It was successful. It got people talking. In a way, I think it was a bit of a marketing thing. You got to play in different sandboxes by doing that. One of the things I think was most interesting was 10 months after they launched the pay what you can digital only model, they released the album on CD through traditional record companies, and it debuted at #1. So it goes back to that pie where 50% of people still buy CDs today. I mean, they buy ours. I don't know who they are, but that's not true. We do know who they are, but I do think it was successful.
We had a really interesting discussion last night about this idea of we're all old people here, so we're used to being able to put, you know, books on the shelves. We're used to going to our friends' places and seeing CD collections still. What's the digital version of that going to be? How are we going to, when you walk by your DVD collection, we actually talked about this whole idea that on Valve, one of the gaming sites, is that people are buying games, but they're actually never playing the game. They're just playing, and people are buying DVDs and box sets maybe of your artists, and they're never listening to them. They just want it there as this sort of comfort. And we were trying to understand, and maybe you have some insight, as to what is the digital equivalent of hoarding, essentially, unopened, things that you just want to be close to because you love the product, and music seems to be one of those emotional attachments.
I would argue that there is no digital equivalent, but I think what's happening is you're seeing physical and digital complements come forward. In many respects, the studio version of an album is just a memento of time now. It marks what that artist was doing at that specific moment. We're seeing a shift in a small niche resurgence in vinyl, and that's because people want to mementoize, I don't know if that's a word, their experience with music. It's a tactile connection to what they do. There's a self-identification to music. We all grew up with it. It continues, I think, all throughout life. And so I think you see this coexistence between the two.
There we go. Last question in the back. Julia, Ariel, can you just pop a mic over there?
Talk loud.
No, we would. That's great.
Okay, so in all of that and talking about the emotion, and I agree, I think there's that fascinating thing about the sense, the palpable sense of your connection to a musical moment or a musician. How has all of this changed in the life of your company, the emotional day-to-day life of the musician? Take any one of your musicians. What's really different for them because they have to be the emotional connection with their fans, and that's changed?
I think artists, I could be wrong, but I believe that artists are a lot smarter now. I think they're a lot more in tune with the relationship between them and their fans. That there is a lot more respect, I think, today, that the fact that it is a relationship. I mean, when MySpace was big, I used to say that, like, fans don't just want to be fans, they want to be friends. They don't even want to be friends, they want to be top friends. And you kind of have to, as an artist, you start to learn that. I mean, with one of our next speakers, we were talking earlier about how so many artists before would kind of be totally negative and anti any of this, like, opening up and being involved and connecting socially with audiences, and now they're some of, like, the strongest proponents of you know, running their own Twitter and doing things that are really authentic in the audience space.
Round of applause for Jeffrey. Thank you very much. All right. There are two trenders here, as you've probably seen in our schedule. There's a trender with just one R, which are the two guys sitting there. That's the app that you've been downloading. And then there's trender with two R's, which Mark is going to come up and talk about. So everyone's trending and trendering, which is great. So I want to introduce Mark Ghanim, from the CEO and founder of Trender, Unlocking the Social Value of Social TV. After this, we'll sort of head towards the break. So the heat is up a little bit. We've now evened it out because it got too hot. So you are living in my world of craziness, where we go to Canada and then to Cuba and then back to Canada. But we're going to get it under control. He's the CEO and founder of Trender. Mark believes that second screen market is booming and consolidation is inevitable. Trender is incorporating the most promising platforms into its service as additional data sources to help clients understand the value in social TV. Please put your hands together for Mark.
Thank you. And I agree. It really is all about breaking emotional ground. So I'm here. I got 7 minutes to talk about social television. That's my name on Twitter if you need to tweet at me. I think it's a TV party. About 4 years ago, I started, we were marketing the MTV VMAs, and we were looking at the Twitter fire hose. We watched Kanye do that moment of brilliance there. We could see the Twitter timeline match right to the Nielsen timeline. It took a minute for people to feel something, say something, and then share it, and then they tuned in. So it started to drive tune-in, and that was, for me, was a catalyst moment of there's real value here if you do the right message, the right time, the right way. And right message is from a friend, a trusted source, at the right time, when you can actually do something about it. Flashback to the transaction conversation, and the right way through a social network. So this is important for a number of reasons. I won't even try to define social TV, but when you have 52 million actions or social engagement around television, that's important. And this is this year's running numbers. And an engaged audience is really where brands want to be. It's what matters. Again, going back to emotional ground and things that matter. So we harness the value of real-time social data for media and advertising. I tend to roam, so I'll try to stay close to the TV, the mic. So 3 phases of television, the way I like to look at it. Passive, we've been watching TV up until about 5 years ago, but it's been social. Persistent, where we are now, consistently engaged, persistently engaged. We saw Rentrack yesterday move from a +3 to, I think, tracking a whole month of delayed viewing. And now perceptive, like your TV knows you, and not in a creepy way, but in a way that it's your DVR recordings, it knows what your friends are doing, it knows when to dial you into what you care about, right? So the types of transactions that are taking place around television are 2 different types. I like to look at it as a T. The top of the T is small little interactions, Twitter, you know, little things on Facebook, but low barrier to entry, asymmetrical. I can say it, I don't have to be following someone, and I can just do it. But then now we're starting to see a depth of a T, and I don't have a T up there, so you'll have to visualize it. But as you get down into the types of transactions or the types of actions taking place around television, you see that the consumer is connecting to your friends, social, which we're talking about, smart, where you start to have really good heads-up data coming into your thing. So you're watching a sports game and your fantasy football league is coming in, or or, financial data. Transactional, I care about it, I want to buy it, right? And the age-old example there is Jennifer Aniston sweater, and I really need it. And TV as a game, and competition, and that's starting to shape up as an experience as well. So you have content, and then you have the discovery around it, and you have the engagement around it. Discovery is really interesting because I just gave you an example of one-on-one discovery, but now discovery happens at scale. So we were at CES this year, and one of our products was in the Dish product that allowed you to see the top 10 things that were hot on TV right now. Not the 500 that you can choose, but the 10 that mattered right then when you turned it on. So people see things, feel things, say them, and then do it. And that starts to become predictive. And you see that we're measuring it 365 days a year, because if you're going to capture the brand value of what you're creating, going back to the last talk, right? How do you capture the value of true content? One of the ways you do that is by allowing it to go out into the marketplace and see where it might be predictive and be able to play into where the puck is going, if you will. So we're taking a full social stack, Twitter fire hoses, public data from Facebook, other second screen apps. We're processing it, and then we in turn empower networks, agencies, brands, whoever needs to use this data in a way that helps their audiences. When you get down to like a television network, I like to say that real-time social data empowers an entire television network, or I call it a stack now because we're digital, right? So it has value to marketing, it has value to on-air, it has value to the media itself, so advertising can value the media based on engagement and not just reach. But you don't have to watch TV alone anymore, ever. So if you are bored and at home, you always have a friend to watch TV with. And this real-time data, as I was saying, impacts each area. And the narrative is probably the most important, because that narrative is jumped off the screen to different devices and services. So your points of attention, even while I'm talking, are in different devices and services. So how do I, as a content creator, connect with my audience who are re-aggregating all over the place? 1 minute they're watching your screen, the next minute they're re-aggregating on Twitter or on another social service or on an iPad or into a device, and how do you actually track and understand all that behavior? One of the things I really like about this data is not data as business intelligence, but data as creative. So you can now start to take all this data, and we've seen this on shows like The Voice. We happen to work with a bunch of, this is a worldwide phenomenon. The reason I have TF1, the biggest network in France, up right now is that it is worldwide, and people are interacting with television, and the convergence of television and the internet are happening at every corner of the planet. TF1 did Dancing with the Stars this year. We aggregated all the conversation around social, around weather. So weather and Twitter came to us and said, let's unlock this value this way. So you have 1 billion tweets coming through in 2 days. How do you understand which ones are about weather? How do you map them to where you are geo-wise, going back to the location talk, right? And how is it actionable to you right then and there? For the Weather Channel, it goes into all 5 areas of their thing. So it goes on air, that's an on-air visualization of the same data, but it also goes into their apps, and it's on the front page of their home site. So when a weather event happens, social pages are double anything else, time spent. You're creating real-time SEO. So if everybody's talking from every zip code about weather, and believe me, they do, even when it's sunny, you're creating real-time SEO for your company. This is another version of Data is Creative, Telemundo Billboard Music Awards, brand sponsored, taking the data, ranking the people on the show, pulling out the most valuable tweet. The key points here is that this is the highest ratings they've ever had. They integrated the audience, they integrated the data as creative into the show several times. I have a feeling someone's going to be standing there in 1 minute. So when they did this, here's the correlation and the correspondence, right? Every time they did a call to action, their audience reacted. So real-time dial meters. Thank you. Q dear, or whatever that is. So I kind of talked about discovery, but this is the deep down view of discovery. I didn't know what to watch at Tuesday at 8. I sat down. NCIS might have been popular, but then you can go in and immerse yourself in the experience and down that T. So I like to look at data in a number of ways. You have data, but then it turns into information, and then ultimately presentation. But until you eat that cake, it doesn't really become knowledge. And I'd like to always cite black flag and say we're going to have a TV party tonight, because it really is starting to change.
Thank you.
Sure. Sorry to talk so fast.
No, that's great. Stay up here. We've got a few questions. Are there any questions off the top for Mark? While we get, Jay, if you could get Brad a... Great.
Hey there, great presentation. Just a quick question. Your opinion on Netflix binge viewing House of Cards?
Sure.
And a follow-up on sort of the whole cord shaving, cable cord shaving subscription drop-off trend?
I'll start with the easier one, the cord cutting, and I really don't think right now it's an immediate issue. But I'd like to talk about House of Cards because it's really interesting because it plays into the binge viewing trend that takes place, that was taking place naturally, right? If you're looking at the younger demo, they're snacking in pieces or they're binging, and they usually wait a season or two to binge, right? They want to know that the commitment's there, that the show's not canceled. You know, when I said the last part of Homeland, has anyone watched it? Anyone under 24 in my office said, no, they just finished 2 seasons, that's when we're going to start. I think there's challenges in it. You know, I like being able to consume when I want and giving the consumer what they want when they want it. But you don't have that normal cadence of like what's going to happen next week and the dialogue between those two, right? So those are actually act as promotional barkers or windows that way. So you really don't have that. So you don't have the scarcity provided by television and time boxed 8 to 9, that's when everyone's going to watch it, and then a lot of conversation takes place. So I think they might miss out on some opportunities of marketing and promotion, but I think giving people what they want when they want it is great. We saw a little fall off on the data since it's been released because all the news stories stepped down. The only problem with binging is that when you're done, you're left waiting and wanting and yearning and a long time till you can get it again.
I'm finding that with Breaking Bad. It's not fair.
Yeah,
it's
no,
unacceptable.
No.
I shouldn't have started into it. I do want to ask you a bit about data and how good is the data, right? Those of us who live in the data world will tell you that there's certain amounts of data that's good, certain amounts of data is bad. When you tell people when they're looking at your data, like you're looking at it as a trend, or how much do they have to read into? Like, how good is the data now that you're getting? Because it's always been it's always been a bit of a problem. But now, are you getting more?
I don't think it was so much the accuracy of the data. I think the questions at hand of representativeness. Is it fully representative of everybody? Right? And sometimes it doesn't have to be. It can just be a sample. But the beauty of this data is it's not just volume and velocity. It's like you can go in and understand. So the difference between quantitative and qualitative. So you can start to go in and say, wow, that character is resonating, that plot is resonating. So what's happened is that I think there's been a perfecting of the metric, if you will, and that's what we've been focusing on, and actually making it more intelligible to TV metrics, reach, frequency, and duration, but just based on engagement.
When you look at Netflix and what they released the last week, or I guess it was a couple weeks ago, saying that they noticed that everyone was watching David Fincher films and that everybody loved Kevin Spacey films, so they put them together to create a piece. I thought that was genius. How do you think that the data is going to help make better content? Because I think we've lived through a couple of generations of a lot of content on maybe television or even radio that, it's okay, but it's not great. We made most of our money from a few specific things, right, for the most part. But now with all this data, we can actually make better content. Do you see that people are going to invest more in better content and explore and heighten that content? Or is it going to just be the same old? We're going to end up throwing a lot at the wall.
I think it's a combination of that. And what's really interesting about the Netflix thing is that depending on your demographic, when you come into Netflix, it presents you with a different trailer. So they have 7 different trailers or 10 different trailers. So a 14-year-old comes in, he'll see a different trailer than a parent or someone or female or male different demographic. So they're using data that way, right, to target the best narrative for the viewer. I think you can now start to use this data to bubble up what people are interested in, okay? So, is cooking a trend or tattoos or whatever the last couple of years are hillbillies fishing or whatever it is that have emerged on television, and I'm not accountable for any of that programming examples. But the audience is telling you what they want to see. So I think there's a combination of, both Steve Jobs and data, right? Data is really important, but sometimes people don't know what they want, and it takes someone who really is a creator to deliver it.
I'm going to go to Roll at the back. Do we have Jake, can you get just quickly? This will be our last question.
So one of the biggest mysteries for me, online mysteries, is why has it taken so long for TV to adopt the internet or the other way around? Like, we've been talking about this since, 94 or earlier when we had web TV, remember, Microsoft? Oh, yeah, it just hasn't happened, and it still hasn't happened. I'm still watching Bell Express View. Is it because of a lack of interactivity, easy interactivity with the TV, so you can't easily select items? Is it because of content providers basically doing cable channel deals? Is it because of lack of internet connectivity or bandwidth? Or is the TV format simply not very appropriate? Like, what do you think?
Well, I don't think it's broken, but I think it's changing, and probably changing in a way that we've never seen in our lifetimes. It's a fundamental, significant shift. I think what you're going to see now is that we have marketplace accelerators like smartphones, smart tablets. So smartphones are everywhere, the ubiquity, right? Tablets are going to overtake desktops, and home computers this year already have, right? You have half of the American, I'd say North America, buying new TVs this year, and those are going to be smart TVs. I think those will act as accelerators to take what's really taking place on one screen and allow it to be the optic to get content anywhere. So I want to watch House of Cards, I want to watch YouTube, I want to watch TV, from 1950. I have everything available to me.
So does that mean bye-bye Dish?
Say again?
Bye-bye Dish?
No, I think all the cable providers and MSOs and satellite providers are really moving up the ecosystem and just constantly providing connectivity to you, right? And whether that's TV everywhere or ISP services, they're going to move down that ecosystem line and use that cable or satellite just fine. I think Dish won Best of Show at CES this year for being disruptive. So I don't think anything's going away in fast order. I think it's an opportunity moment versus a disruption moment.
And let's just stop everything and be realistic, right? TV, radio, traditional still makes a bulk of all of the money. Like it's billions still. Yeah, there's some disruption coming, and I would agree that it's not happening as quickly as possible, as quickly as we thought. But I mean, the advertisers are still finding that when they place ads on TV, they make sales until that starts happening on the web on a bigger basis.
On video, and it's like this, you're right.
Yeah, it's huge. Thank you very much, Mark. I appreciate it. Okay, just before we go to break, which is going to happen now, I wanted to say that we had some Game On tickets that people, when we put out the tweet, they were the first 2 people to tweet at us. So I'm just going to call them. You can come up and get your tickets. Do you want? It's the Game On 2.0. It's going to be held at the Ontario Science Centre. It's got a great lineup. So we have a couple of tickets to give away, and we tweeted it out. And the 2 winners are David Cummings and Sorrow. I am really sorry, Sorrow. Just Sorrow, I cannot pronounce, I don't even want to, what? He's there? Okay, sorry, I don't even want to try and pronounce your last name. There's so many vowels in it that I just know I would screw it up. I'm really sorry. Okay, so there's one of our winners, and our other one is David. When we come back after the break, we have some phenomenal speakers. We have Reddit to end the day, which we're all really looking forward to. We've got BBM. We've also got Chartbeat and InSpark. Please go and chat with our exhibitors. Make sure you meet someone you haven't. I'm giving you permission to go up and meet someone you have never talked to before. Do not be scared. You can do it. And we'll see you back here at 4:20. The networking coffee break is in partnership with the OMDC, and we really appreciate them sponsoring it. Don, do you want to just put up the Twitter? Come on back, everybody. Please come back. Please. Please. Okay, everyone, we're going to be starting. I just wanted to take a moment to show you guys the Twitter. Do you want to condense it a little bit, John? Can we move this over a little bit so you can see it? Yeah, maybe a little bit, yeah. Great. Maybe, you know what, John, maybe make it go control minus minus. Yeah, better. I don't know what this band is. Okay. What am I doing now? For Glenn? Okay. And do you want to go to, John, do you want to go to that whiffed one? Okay, everybody, we're going to be starting, so come on back. How's everybody doing, okay? How you feeling, all right? Good.
Which is the green, small little green one, the small one or the big one? It says there's two.
What's the big one?
Big green arrow.
Big green arrow. When we go to Q&A with Ross, then you'll just come up. I'll move him to the center of the stage, and then he'll give you time to get your laptop. Okay.
What's with the complete lack of recycling?
I don't know, Dave. Okay. Unbelievable. As I was saying earlier, that we have some just unbelievable amounts of tweets going on and some great discussions happening, and so I thought we'd take a second to just highlight it. Oh, nice. That's a good one. Thanks, Brad. I know, everyone's, that's great. Okay, move up past that, John, please. Did we have, what happened to the wall that was showing what the #1 tweets were? Yeah. So we've got lots of tweets coming up. Canada leads the world in video views. Consumers don't think campaigns brand should be always on. Measures for success on YouTube isn't necessarily a view count. Track value, audience, and engagement. Stages of social TV, passive, persistent engagement. So if you're on Twitter, just look at the hashtag, search the hashtag CMTO 2013, CMTO 13, and you'll see a lot of this stuff. Great discussions going on. I just wanted to take a moment to really thank you guys. This is something we can go back and take a look at later. All right. First of all, can you, John, can you bring up the WIFT screen? You don't know which one that is? Okay, we'll have to, Amy's not back, so we'll have to do it in a minute. So this afternoon, we've got lots of things going on and just some great speakers to finish off the day. We've got 3, and then we've got Eric from Reddit. So we're going to keep this moving along, and then afterwards, we've also got a great cocktail where you can meet other people, should you desire. Is there anyone here that feels confident that they would like to say who they would like to meet so that I can help them introduce to someone? Anybody? I'm just throwing it out there. I just want to make sure that we're doing everything in our power to help people network. No, I don't want to meet anyone. Okay. All right. Well, oh, it's the afternoon. How many people just want to go to sleep? It's okay if you sleep. I'm totally cool with sleeping. All right. No? Okay, here we go. We're going to get the second part, the last sort of sessions going. We've got 3 great speakers. First of all, I'd like to introduce Ross Davies. He's the Director of Member Engagement at BBM, which is Canada's version of Arbitron for our Americans that are here. BBM is the rating service that is used for what the advertisers buy on, based on radio and TV for the most part. Ross will explain that. He's going to talk about the evolution of technology. He's the Director of Member Engagement Radio for BBM Canada, so he's going to be focusing on radio, but also TV. And he will give us some great insights into the Canadian behavior. Please welcome Ross Davies. Hi, Ross.
Thank you, Gavin, and good afternoon, everyone.
I think if you need to have some incentive to sleep, talking about research, you might have some right now in the next 7 minutes or so, but I'll try and keep it lively. My name is Ross Davies. I'm a lifelong broadcaster, and I now find myself working in the research end of the broadcasting field for BBM Canada, and we're happy to be here today. We're going to talk about the future in terms of measurement, and then specifically about electronic measurement in Canada. But first, before I do that, just let me tell you a little bit about BBM. As Gavin said, we are a not-for-profit organization that represents broadcasters, television and radio, the advertising community, and advertising agencies. So it's a tripartite, not-for-profit organization. It's been around since 1944. And the service today is both diary method and electronic method. Diary is the old paper diary that we ask people to keep track of their television viewing and their radio habits for a week at a time. And then we have the newest thing, the electronic measurement called PPM, which I'll talk about more specifically in just a second. Today's focus is really going to be about the electronic PPM service, which we think is the path to tomorrow in terms of media measurement. Just very quickly in diaries, essentially the diary markets are every market in Canada, as small as like North Bay, Ontario, all the way up to Ottawa, Ontario. The electronic markets are Montreal, Toronto, Edmonton, Calgary, and Vancouver. So the rest of Canada, Eastern Canada and all that is done in the diary market. They're done with the diary methodology. And same for radio and television. And it's basically, it's 2 survey windows, once in the spring and once in the fall, over 8 weeks typically. And we ask people to record their viewing and television habits over the course of a week. The big difference, however, in electronic measurement is with what PPM is it records what is actually heard. It records real behavior. It's not recall. You know, in a diary, you have to remember what you saw or what you heard and you write it down. PPM measurement, this is the PPM meter right here, the 360, the brand new technology that I'll talk about, captures real behavior. If you're walking around listening to a radio, it captures it. If you're watching television, it captures it no matter what. And so you don't have to recall, we get it. And we encode it, and we can put it into data over the course of the survey period. It is the PPM 360, this unit right here. It's a no dock, no hub. It uses cell phone technology. It's got an inaudible code that we place in every broadcast facility in Canada in these major markets, television and radio. And this little baby catches those codes. You can't hear them to the ear, but this meter can pick these codes up. It's got multiple day storage. It's got extended battery life. If you go away for the weekend, if you're going up to the cottage here in Ontario, it'll still record your radio and your television habits. It communicates, we have the ability to communicate directly with panelists who agree to carry these meters. And we find this particularly interesting because you've noticed there's on the screen here, there's a little window which allows us to actually communicate directly with the panelists. And this is really, I think, very valuable because in particular with 18 to 24s, which is the bane of every research company's existence, whether you're measuring radio or television or coffee cup sales or chair sales, getting 18 to 24s to comply in research is really problematic around the world. Well, one of the neat features about this unit is the fact that we can text people. And so in 18 to 24, who have a lot of other things going on in their lives, the last thing they want to do is get a phone call from us at BBM to say, hey, what are you doing? So we can text them and say, hey, dude, what's up? You know, we noticed your meter hasn't been moving lately. Are you sleeping? And so we can communicate directly with these people. So that's one of the big advantages we have with this meter. And it also is the ability to track headphone use. If you're listening to the radio, for example, on headphones, we have a special adapter so that these people who agree to be panelists, if you're listening on your smartphones or on your laptop at work, it'll still capture it. The thing about this is that it captures real measurement. You know, television playback is captured with amazing precision, right to the minute. Television simultaneous substitution is captured. Anything that is sent out by the broadcasters live, this unit will hear that code and report it.
Crossmedia. One of the reasons, obviously, you're all here today. This meter will allow us to do a lot of great things going forward, and I'll talk about some of them in particular in terms of nonlinear measurement. We can capture, it's platform agnostic, so if it hears that signal, whether it's on a laptop or whether it's in a car radio or whether it's your home kitchen radio or it's your television, if it hears the signal, it'll pick it up. It's platform agnostic. It doesn't care where. If it hears that signal, so long as it's a live signal that hasn't been altered by the broadcaster, it will pick it up. There's some of the other things that are very interesting, down on the horizon, actually working on right now with this thing, and you heard Gavin mention Arbitron, our partners in the States. This unit is going to be able to track panelists who go shopping. And we talk about geo-marketing and things like that. There's a test that's going on right now in the States with Arbitron that will allow this meter to pick up stores, retail stores in malls, and their in-house audio system. We're going to place a code on those in-house audio systems that the meter will walk in and pick it up. So then we can cross-tab the results, saying, listen, we know this person heard this commercial on this radio station or saw this ad on TV, and they happen to walk for a Home Depot. And the next thing you know, they're in the store. So we can link those things up. That's what electronic measurement allows us to do with this unit. Right now we have every metered house in Canada, in those markets I mentioned, Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver, Edmonton, and Calgary. We place meters into the homes, and we ask them to measure both radio and TV. We collect the data, but we keep it separate, and we issue radio results over here and television results over here. However, some of the members are saying, well, listen, I'd be interested in knowing what kind of cross-tuning is taking place. And so this meter allows us, we're studying that right now to say, someone who's listening to, in Calgary to a rock station, what are their television habits? What TV shows are they watching? So these are some of the opportunities that this unit will allow us to do. The nonlinear video thing is really something that I think will really, present many terrific opportunities in terms of what you're all about here today. And that's nonlinear measurement and nonlinear video. For example, video on demand is a big hot button with the television industry right now because they know live television viewing is changing. A lot of it's going on video on demand. They want to know how to capture that. Well, right now, the codes won't capture it if anything's been altered from the main programming. So if you take a television show like Grey's Anatomy and you strip out the commercials and things like that, the signal won't pick it up. Or if a radio station wants to do a podcast of their show and they put it on their website to download, it won't pick it up because it's been altered. Video on demand, this nonlinear measurement that we can do here, that's in development right now with our partners Arbitron and Kantar, it's all about the codes, and we're building an infrastructure right now that will allow the television broadcasters over the next year, 2 years, to be able to capture nonlinear viewing. It's all about codes. Right now, this unit takes approximately 45,000 codes to capture radio and TV consumption in Canada. In order to do nonlinear measurement, video on demand, podcasting, it's going to require something in the neighborhood of 2 billion codes, because everything has to be, coded to the individual platform, television station, the episode level, all of that stuff. It has to be built in. Canada's leading the way in this, interestingly enough, and the rest of the world is going to watch what happens here, because with this PPM unit, it's going to allow things like that. And as you all know, that's where this business is going.
We're a little over. So.
Okay. So there is just, these are the sample sizes. We have about 11,000 people are in TAB in Canada right now, and with meters. We even have panelists who, we cater to the Chinese population in Vancouver and Toronto, obviously for obvious reasons and things like that. This shows that they are carrying the meters with them. They are actually listening to it. And I'll answer some questions. I know Gavin's going to ask me about actual tuning consumption and things like that in just a second. And as I say, the big thing we can do right now is talk about what we can do with nonlinear measurement going forward. That's really the opportunity that we have with this industry, and I will kind of wrap that up with one shameless plug.
Nice.
For our Staying Tuned conference. You'll see our host Gavin is going to be there coming up in April. This is a conference that we're doing that features media professionals, researchers, and broadcasters from around the world every year coming to Toronto. This is our 22nd annual conference. We've got people coming from the UK, the Netherlands, and the States. Arbitron and ESPN are going to be coming up with some pretty interesting stuff, and Gavin will be there as well. So if you're interested in any of this stuff, check this out. Our website will give you all the information. That's my shameless plug. Typical broadcaster.
Round of applause for Ross. Just grab your papers. He's going to put his computer on.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm just going to give you that.
Awesome. I don't know what these things are.
No, these. All right, questions? Yes, Tony. We got one right there from Ariel. My God, you're getting faster as the day goes.
Hey, so I don't want to sound like a jerk, but why aren't you guys using smartphones to do the job of this other piece of hardware and factor in location?
I didn't ask it. You see,
know,
I did not ask that.
I gotta tell you, we've never thought of that.
I was just curious on the technology side of things. Like, what is the reason?
For sure, we're totally on top of that right now. There's lots of technical hurdles that have to we're overcome, but the Research and Innovation Department of the BME is working on that with BBM. One of the hassles, for example, is the battery life in phones. So if we inserted a chip in there to do all this stuff, it's going to sap the battery life. And so that's one issue we still have to work out with.
And Tony,
Fair enough.
I would stop you right there and say, go and look at the charging bay and see all the iPhones. Have you seen the pictures going up? It's like iPhones, like no one has done anything. Yes, sir, right here. Ariel, run, Ariel, run.
Thank you. Sorry to bring back up the smartphones and other devices question again, but I've seen some tech around using the PPM tones in broadcasts to send the smartphones or tablets for second screen viewing. Do you have any involvement or knowledge in that? So, like, for example, you could send out the tone and it would tell the broadcaster what the people are watching and serve them a specific second screen experience that's time related to the show.
Not now. But that's all about this nonlinear test that we're doing right now with Cantor and Arbitron. When we get these 2 billion codes built into this thing, it's going to be able to read a lot of stuff, including exactly what you're talking about. So it's coming down the road.
Okay, thank you.
Great. All right, any other questions? Yes, John. That's Jay. Run, Jay, run. Ariel she's beating you. It's clear, she's faster, clearly.
I know you mentioned these non-linear platforms that are coming soon. Can you speak at all to some of those platforms and what they would be? I know there was an announcement earlier this week, I think in the US, that Xbox and some of those other platforms where content is being viewed. Like, are you envisioning iTunes, Netflix, all of those platforms?
Not right now, but I think that's entirely feasible. It's really going to become the direction of the ownership of BBM, which is that tripartite: the broadcasters, the advertisers, the agencies. If they view that they need to be there for their business, then they're going to fund it to get there. For example, they're putting millions of dollars into this nonlinear measurement test that we're doing right now. So I think the answer is if there's a need for it, if there's a market demand for it, but and the PPM 360 allows that.
Thank you very much, Ross. Round of applause for Ross, please. Yeah, great, thanks. Okay, just before I bring up Chartbeat, John, can you switch over possibly to the... I just want to show you guys what Chartbeat is. We've been using Chartbeat for... No, I know, but I want to show you what we use it for. You can't... What are you doing on the stage? I haven't even introduced you yet. So we wanted to show you what we use Chartbeat for, and to tell you a little bit about it, because which radio station? Are you going to use a radio station? Or? Let's do JumpWire? Okay, so what Chartbeat is you drop some code on a site. It's all free. You can pay like $9.99 or something like that. But the important thing is it tracks everything in real time, and that's the key. And right now we have 2 people on our site, our JumpWire site. Yay! But what's interesting is you can see things like. Everybody go to jumpwiremedia.com right now. Go ahead, go pull out your phone, go there right now. Yeah, let's all be funny. Ha ha ha. So you're gonna see here, you're gonna see mobile, and then the person who just left, you're dead. But what's interesting about all this stuff is that it's all done in real time. You can see what's happening on your website in real time. Thank you for number 2 and number 3. Let's auction it off. Come on, 5. Give me a few more people going there. Oh yeah, up to 8. Awesome. Great job. And where are they going, John? What are they going to see?
Oh, the needle's buried.
Yeah, I know. Look at that. It's buried. It's the most we've ever had. I'm going to get a text in a minute that says this is the most number of people on your site. Whoa. You guys are crazy. Stop it. Don't go all over my site. Stop it. Quit logging in. No. You're going to break it. We don't have servers for this. That's 24 people at the same time. Yeah, what's this about Fast Company? Okay, stop. Okay, great. Okay, thank you for going to the site. Excellent. So you get the idea. It's real time. I'm actually not going to spend any more time. Adam, do you want to take over? Goodbye. No, I should introduce Adam. Adam Clarkson is the user experience lead at Chartbeat. He's collaborated with newsrooms as diverse as Gawker and New York Times to Slate. He helped make analytics dashboards a fixture on the screens of editors, bloggers, and writers who want to better understand them. Prior to Chartbeat, Adam worked at Newsweek.com as director of user experience and CBC.ca in Toronto, Canada as creative team manager. Please welcome Adam.
Thank you. Okay, so here's what real traffic looks like. You're looking right now at what's called the big board for Gizmodo, and I'll get to that in a sec. So Chartbeat is essentially, it's an analytics service for digital media operations. We're really best known for real time. That's kind of the thing that we do best, which is knowing what's happening on your website in the moment so you can take informed action right away. We designed Chartbeat with, as Gavin was saying, a lot of New York media. So we got input from people from New York Times, from Wall Street Journal, and Bloomberg. And that really helped us evolve our philosophy, which is data needs to be in the hands of people who can take action. You know, a lot of people get a report once a week, once a month from their organization, from a back office analyst that tells them that they're either meeting their goals or they're falling short. And that information is crucial, but on a day-to-day and minute-to-minute basis, you really need to know everybody in your organization needs to be responsible for what's happening on the site. So from that standpoint, we're really trying to make an environment of data. And I'm going to show you some of the things that we are using to try and achieve that. So the first thing here is called, like I said before, the big board. Is super simple. It's just the top stories on your site. This is usually visible in almost every one of our customers' newsrooms. From multiple vantage points, everybody can see it. The number on the left is how many people are on the article. The number on the right is how much time people are spending on each of those articles. And this is really important for us. We're actually architected fundamentally differently from other analytics tools. So other tools will tell you time on site, but that's really different. What we do is we get a packet of data every 15 seconds from every user on your site. And that packet of data tells us things like, are people actively scrolling? Are they using their keyboard? Are they leaning in and actively engaging with your content? And when that's happening, this clock is running. So all these numbers here are really very accurate reads on how much time people are spending on the home page, for example. The other thing that's really different about Chartbeat is we don't count page views at all. In fact, we don't really see much value to it. A page view kind of measures whether somebody clicked on a headline, but it doesn't tell you anything about the actual quality of the content. So once somebody got to your content, did they actually spend time on it? Did they scroll down it? Did they leave a comment? Did they engage with it? But a page view doesn't measure any of that. It just measures the monetizable act of clicking on a headline, which really is kind of bad for business in the end. So moving on. So we've got some other big board visualizations. Here's one here that incorporates some traffic source information. So if you're getting above average traffic from social, you'll get a purple color. If somebody has picked you up another domain, it'll be blue. If you're getting great search traffic, it's green, and beige for internal. So this is a popular one as well. Glenn Beck actually uses this in his broadcast booth and looks at it and sometimes even changes up what he's talking about in real time based on what people are interested in, which is a really fascinating use case. If you're a homepage editor, you're going to be really keen on what's happening on your homepage. So this is called our heads-up display. So again, we're looking at Gizmodo. And if you're a homepage editor, you need to understand what are people clicking on. And if you're talking about CNN and MSNBC, who also use us, they live in this thing, and multiple people do. Because there's, well, I can't say exactly how many people, it's a lot of people on those home pages, and they need to make sure things are optimized as well as possible. So, you know, no surprise that this is the #1 story on the homepage right now. But what's interesting is that we also provide a bit of context around that. So, this article is actually really killing it. It's getting 101 clicks per minute. But for this situation, and it's a bit complicated to go into, but for this number of people on the page and for this day of the week and time of the day, you should be getting in this spot ordinarily about 42 clicks. So this is doing really well. And that's important for that #1 spot because of course it's going to be #1, right? But you need to know how you're doing against your historical. If you are a blogger, for example, you probably want to know something about the post that you just put up. And so, for example, this one here, again, if I'm a writer, I probably have my website open all day and I'm looking at it, so why not put the data there where people can actually be in touch with it and familiar with it? This is how many people are on that story right now. I can click here to have a little glance at the traffic sources to it. Are people coming in from Twitter? Did that tweet I just send out work? Did the link partnership that I have with so-and-so, Time, are they actually linking to me or not? Answering some of those questions. Are people clicking off to other things? So that's some answers there. If you want to dive in even deeper, you can get into our dashboard. This is a different dashboard than the one that Gavin showed you. This is Chartbeat Publishing. Gavin showed Chartbeat, which is similar, but this is really for like an enterprise level client. This red line shows you how this story did since the time it was published against a blue line, which is again that context of typicality. Okay? Knowing how many people on your article is one thing, but how many should I be getting? And is this number good or bad? Well, this blue line is other articles published in this topic or in this section for this time of day, for this day of the week. And now you can know how well you're doing. And this dotted line is what we think it's going to do in the future. You can check in on the engaged time, which is actually really important as well. Making sure that people read things to the end. So really, how do we make a difference? So forgive my clumsy slides. You're getting a little preview of number 2 already. Act when it matters. So acting when it matters is really, those situations where something happens and in a newsroom you have to react. So you got to spike. You got to flood of new visitors. Throw links on that page. Do whatever you can to convert those people, to impress them with your content and keep them around. Inform your editorial plan. Every day starts with a plan, but so many of our customers say we would never be able to predict what the biggest stories of the day would be. There's things that always come out of the woodwork and end up being popular, and we have to be on top of that and know that that's happening. Don't think you know you know. There's so many people who assert that they know things and they have not looked at any data. Example recently is around long-form content. People are saying, well, should we write more long-form content or not? And some people are saying, why bother? Nobody reads. Well, this is a situation where anybody can try and anybody can get that answer. Back in the heads-up display, you can actually see how far people are scrolling down the page. And the last thing is building a loyal audience. And this is something that we're working on this year that's really key for us. We wanted to find out what is the lead indicator for a person's loyalty. What are the measurable pieces that indicate that they're going to come back or show a propensity for people to return? And engaged time is the biggest factor there. People who spend time on your site actively reading are more likely to come back than people that don't. So from that starting point, we then started looking at who are these people who come back, where do they come from, and that's the first thing that we're looking into. So this is just recent data that I put together this morning, actually out of a report for Gawker.com, and it analyzes 3 traffic sources: Facebook, Google, and Jezebel. And Jezebel, as you know, is part of the Google or the Gawker network. So Facebook over the last week picked up 330 articles versus Google, which was over 1,600, and Jezebel, which was only 63. Now, what is the total amount of engaged time? Okay, that's everybody who visited these articles. How much time did they spend on those articles on Gawker? Facebook leads the way in a big way with 1.1 million. Google has 498,000, and Jezebel's around 150. Now, this column is how much time did they spend on subsequent pages. So this is just the first page on the site, on Gawker. From these sources, did people look at additional pages? And this is where it gets really interesting. The people from Jezebel actually read longer after the thing they clicked on. So they came in on one article, but they spent way more time looking around the site afterwards versus Google and Facebook traffic that did not. And then this is the all-important column. Did these people come back? 62% of the people came back from Jezebel versus these other traffic sources that didn't. So this is how you can start to understand the quality of the traffic that you're getting. So the next time you get picked up by Drudge, hooray, right? There's tens of thousands of people rushing in and consuming my content. But if they're not sticking around and reading, chances are they're not going to come back. So that traffic really needs to be interpreted with a grain of salt. Versus other ones that are like maybe not sending the same volumes of people. But imagine if you could get this number 63 up to this number of pages that they're linking to, right? What it does to these two numbers and your bottom line as an organization.
Great, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Round of applause, Brad. Okay. Are there questions? There must be. How many people have Chartbeat on their sites currently? Well, I know there's a couple of people there. Yeah, 1, 2. I know Pascal does because TFO is our client. 1. So how many people are going to drop Chartbeat tomorrow? Great.
Yeah,
okay.
awesome.
Everyone else is like, I don't care what's going on my site. I don't want to actually know what's going on. Any other questions? I mean, yes. Yeah, Peter, let's just get you a microphone. Great presentation, by the way.
Hey,
and it's, I think there's some great data that's coming out of that. Yeah, Peter.
Talk to us a little bit about the process of actually diving into setting up a process for this data flow. So I'm a content and I'm CMO of my company. I am monitoring a lot. I'm pulling a lot of information, but give us that elevator pitch around the process around grabbing your information.
Are you talking about the actionable insights that you can get from it, or?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, newsrooms are really a kind of an individual beast of their own, where they really have to be on top of things as they're happening minute to minute. And I think that's the key for Chartbeat, is that, everybody ought to be aware of those things. So it's that environment of data for everybody. If you're a homepage editor, if you work in ad operations, if you work in video production, everybody should be aware. The actual things that you can do depend on your industry, and that's going to change if you're e-commerce. But even that heads-up display that I showed you before, I mean, fab.com is using that right now to understand exactly what's trending, and they'll make decisions, or at least it's part of how they decide what goes on that homepage. So.
The other question, oh, sorry, whoa, you okay? I think I felt that here. I'm okay. I'm okay. It's getting late, isn't it? Sorry. I guess the last question is that I heard, and I understand that one of the newspapers you work with, that they had a writer who was a very junior writer who had the #1 online article. It was about stand-up desks coming out of the Valley. And, there's all these Washington bureaus in New York and all the rest of us. But she had the #1 most clicked on article because it was really relevant for whatever reason.
Yeah.
What are you seeing that's changing? What is changing at newspapers in terms of content that you're noticing now that they're using Chartbeat? Because these guys have been, Wall Street Journal and New York Times have been using it for a while now. How are they changing? What are we seeing differently?
When we first came into the industry, there was a lot of apprehension around data. A lot of people said, well, if we just write what the audience wants to read, this is going to be a race to the bottom. And gradually, we've sort of changed minds on that topic.
How? Like, what did you do?
Well, so we basically said, this is around not changing your editorial plan. This isn't about hooking into our API and us just automatically serving up what the masses want. You have to do what you do, and you have to reach the audiences that you want to reach. But it comes down to finding those people. Who are the people that are interested in the content that you have? And now there's been a change, and especially when things happen the way you described, where there's people who aren't Paul Krugman, who had a huge day. And that would have been invisible to people before, and now it's absolutely not.
Cool. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Great presentation. Okay, our last speaker before we go to Eric at Reddit is Veronica Sonsev. She's the CEO and founder of InSpark, Enterprise Social Commerce. And among her many accolades, Veronica was recently honored by Fast Company as one of the 60 members to the League of Extraordinary Women. Yes. Named one of the mobile women to watch in 2012 by Mobile Marketer. Yes. Named one of the top 50 women to watch in tech by Feminomics. Yes. Awesome. We wanted more women on this stage, and I apologize that we didn't have more. But I will tell you that our entire, most of the people on our advisory board start out, in fact, our advisory board to start out was all women. We worked really hard to make sure that women were equally represented here, and it was extremely difficult. So, if you have young women in your lives, get them into tech, please, because it'll make my job easier. Here's Veronica.
Thank you. Oh, perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Gavin. By the way, hasn't he been an amazing host? Thank you so much. My name is Veronica Sansev. I am the CEO of InSpark, and InSpark is reinventing how products are sold online. So I'm going to start with a prediction from Kevin Sternickett from Gartner. And what he said was, retail as we know it will be unrecognizable in 10 years. And what he was talking about when he said that is that big box stores like Best Buy and Old Navy and Office Depot are going to become more like test centers for commerce where you can touch and feel products, but where all of the transactions will actually happen online. But today, online commerce is still a very, very small part of total retail sales. It only represents 10%, actually a little less than that. And at this point, you might ask yourself, why is that the case? Well, there's so much to real-world shopping that's just missing from the online world. There's nothing that beats the excitement of being in the store on Black Friday, and you see tons of customers, products are flying off the shelf, and you know that if you don't buy that item today, it might not be there. Or, shopping with your girlfriend, and she picks out a dress and says, this is the perfect item to wear for Saturday. Now, when you're online, those experiences are not there. And that's part of what's missing as people start shopping more and more in the online world. So we're going to use one of our clients, C Wonder, as an example. Now, how many folks here know who C Wonder is? Okay, a few people. They're coming to Canada, and you'll have to check them out because they're a pretty amazing retailer. So this is what their physical stores look like. They're bright, they're colorful, they have smiling sales clerks. And they're full of fun and surprising experiences. You have people jumping on pogo sticks, they have bicycles in store, they sell roller skates, and on the weekends they have DJs in the store, and their sales folks will break out and dance, really kind of bringing this fun and serendipity into the shopping experience. Now, this is what C Wonder looked like online. It's a flat, catalog-like experience with just pretty models wearing brightly colored clothing. Now, as a customer, where would you rather shop? The store with the pogo stick or the clickable catalog? It's pretty straightforward. So C Wonder tapped InSpark to make their online experience feel like their offline experience, really bringing that fun and energy to their online store. And what InSpark did was 3 things. We provided them with a live feed of trending products. We enabled their customers to share with rewards. And we gave them analytics that helped them understand how these tools really help them grow their business. So this is the live feed. And what this is a live real-time feed of what's trending on C Wonder based on what their customers are buying and sharing. So it helps customers make purchase decisions by seeing what's hot on the store at that time. This is the sharing and rewards experience. We power the whole thing, so it's share and get free ground shipping. You can share over email, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest. And after you share, you get a coupon for free ground shipping. And the way that they capture that coupon is we actually collect the email address after the share, and then they send the coupon via email. Now, the benefit of this approach is now C Wonder is building their mailing list, and they're able to continue to engage with customers even after they share their products. And then finally, we have the analytics that help them understand what their customers are doing, what works, what doesn't work, who their influencers are. And in the future, we envision these analytics being like a focus group. So they could almost see what their customers are actually saying about their products and make decisions based on that. So after they launched this, social really took off on their site. We more than doubled their social engagement. Each share generated 1.3 visits. And the solution that we provided captured 10% of the emails that they captured every week. So a very meaningful portion of their customer base came from the InSpark solution. And the live feed quickly became one of the most popular areas of their site. It gets a 6.5% click-through rate. People are spending 2 minutes on that page. It's one of the most shared pages on their site, and it represents 4.8% of their sales, and that's with just one product. Now, Social doesn't have to stop with fashion. There's an obvious application to that, but take social into baby registries. You know, social can be used to help make the whole process of setting up a registry easy and more social. So if I'm a mom and I want to know what's the best stroller I can buy for under $200, what's the most popular, or if I'm trying to figure out what I need to fill in my nursery, this is a really great way to do this. Very simple, quickly find out what other people are buying, and then just tap and save and share. It can also be used to help make decisions when you need to buy gifts. So, you know, I'm looking to buy a gift for a friend or a loved one. I don't know what they want. If I can see what's popular in the price point, I can start discovering and making purchase decisions that way. And then you can use gamification to encourage more browsing, more discovery, ultimately more buying. So earlier I said that Kevin Sternicott had said that online stores are going to, physical stores are going to essentially become showrooms. Mark Andreessen actually took it a step further. So Mark Andreessen recently said he predicted the death of traditional bricks and mortar commerce. And what he said is that when online stores really start bringing on some of the fun, engaging, and social aspects of real world commerce, they're going to bring real world bricks and mortar stores to their knees. Now, I don't necessarily think that bricks and mortar stores are going to go away anytime soon, but clearly social is the future, and we're helping retailers embrace that today.
Thank you very much. Great presentation. We have any questions for, yes, right here. Run, Ariel, run.
Hi there. So,
who are you? Where are you from?
My name's Felicity, and I work with the Sound Research. So we're a qualitative research firm, and we do a lot of work with athletic brands. And there's always this challenge, and they come to us and we talk to their consumers about putting on, like when we're talking to women, for example, and athletic apparel, it's something like they need to try on a sports bra, or they need to try on those pants because there's just no other experience that can trade off for that. So would you have any recommendations or any advice that you would give to them?
Yes. So actually, that's a common problem in shopping. You want to touch and feel the product.
Yeah.
Rent the Runway actually recently launched a product called Our Runway to solve that exact problem. So basically, as women are renting the dresses, they're taking pictures of themselves in the dress and submitting it, and they're putting in their bust size, their weight, their height. So now
I'm just going to go to that website right now while you're chatting through. It's called Rent the Runway?
Rent the Runway. And actually,
John?
I think they even have a special URL, ourrunway.com.
Our Runway, okay. Our?
Like Our Runway.
OURRunway.com?
Yeah. And so when you look at a dress, you don't have to see a tall, skinny model wearing that dress. You can see people of all different shapes and proportions wearing it.
Those are all tall, skinny models, just
right.
saying. I'm just saying.
So, now you can get a sense, if I can put in my bust size, my height, and I can see how will this dress more likely look on me. And that really starts to solve that problem of making that purchase decision and getting a sense of what the fit would look like.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Cool. Any other questions? Great, we're running a little bit late, so I'll leave it there. Thank you very much. It was a great presentation. Really appreciate it. Noah's going to grab that there. John, do you want to go to the WIFT thing? So Olivia and Renee, where's Olivia and Renee? There's Olivia, she's in purple, Renee's in yellow. They're from WIFT, Women in Film and Television, and they are putting on some programs. They're giving a special discount for their project, your conference, right? It's an event?
Yeah, do you want me to just do a...
No, I want to do it. It's always about you. It's not about me. Come on up, quick. We're going to give you a 20% discount if they come and see you today, right?
Yeah, for media management. Hi, it's for the media management program. It is for everyone who is here in the room. We give a 20% discount through our partnership with Crossmedia Toronto. And it's for senior managers and entrepreneurs in film, TV, and interactive. So come see us afterwards if you're interested.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I'm also wanted to show you guys a little bit of resources. Can you go to the Jumpwire site? So It's because I want more traffic in real time. Just kidding. You will see that if you come to our site, there's something called a blog. We do it every week. It's actually not we. It's Jonathan and Devin. They do a really great job. It's an overview of all the things that are happening on the web that we think are cool. We get sent all sorts of stuff to try in alpha. We try stuff in beta. We try stuff that actually doesn't work. We break things all the time. We also have Vines up. Yeah, okay. That's not what I want to show. We're supposed to be a professional company. You are killing me. John, take that down. So stipple, forget it. All right. Anyway, if you want great resources, definitely come to our website, sign up for our newsletter, or go to Crossmedia TO on our Facebook page. We're posting all sorts of stuff all the time, and definitely give us lots of feedback there as well too. Now, before we get into Reddit, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring Eric Miller up from Reddit. But before I do that, I want to make sure that we actually see Reddit. So I'm going to introduce Eric. He's going to come up, and we're going to take you through Reddit and how it all works. So this is Reddit. But first I want to introduce him. Not only has Reddit run interviews with the likes of Bill Gates, Barack Obama, and the Canadian William Shatner, it's also shaking up traditional media. According to Time magazine, it's one of the top 100 influential people in the world, or as Adweek named it, their Adweek 50 of one of the world's top innovators. So please join me, put your hands together for the general manager of Reddit, Eric Martin. I called you Eric Miller.
That's all right.
Come on up. Why don't you stand on this side? Eric, when we booked you like 6 months ago, I think it was like or 7 months ago, Reddit was, it's always been big, but it hasn't gone to where it's gone now. Do you want to just take us quickly through a little bit of a history, like how it was created, and then, and obviously I offer my condolences, and I think everybody does here about Aaron. So, but I thought that we would just start. Let's begin at the beginning, as Monty Python would say.
Sure. So Reddit started. It was in the first Y Combinator class. That was back in 2005.
And Y Combinator is?
Y Combinator is a angel incubator started by Paul Graham, and it was started in Boston. So Reddit was actually started in Boston. And in 2005, when it started, there was just one page, and there were no comments, and you could just submit links. There was no so you could just submit links to articles or images or videos. That's it, and you could vote them up and down. And then we added comments. The first comment on Reddit, and I'm not making this up, but I would have made it up had it not been true. The first comment was, "There goes the site." Like, that's the beginning of the end. You're going to let people comment on here. It's over.
That was the first. Seriously,
that was seriously the first comment.
And who wrote? Do you know who wrote
I
it?
I don't know if one of the guys who was there earlier knows, but I don't.
And let's just talk quickly about a little bit about the tech. Like, what is the tech behind it? Because it's not really. It's all open source and.
Reddit it was originally built on Lisp and then rewritten in Python. It's open source. So you can download the code and roll your own Reddit. It is we run on AWS. We have
Amazon Server System.
Yep, Amazon Services. And yeah, it's pretty much the sort of look and feel is pretty much unchanged since.
Well, it's very Craigslist-like, right? It's like you guys have, and what is the feeling internally about that? Like, do people want you to dress it up, or they just want to leave it the way it is?
No, I mean we add, so like this kind of search bar here at the top, that's probably the biggest thing we've added in the past 4 or 5 years. And that's if you're not logged in, or it comes up periodically and sort of prompts you to look for new subreddits. But yeah, we want to leave it basically as it is. It works. I don't think it's a coincidence that Wikipedia and Craigslist and Reddit have this sort of rich text format. It's
easy to use.
It's easy to use. It's easy to scan. There's not too many things distracting you.
John, could we just move it over so that people can see the vote ups and vote up and down? Because this is sort of what Reddit is really all about. You can see on the side here. Do you want to just take us through the up vote, down vote?
Right. So everything on Reddit, whether it's a submission, and you can submit anything from text, and about a third of the links on Reddit are actually not going anywhere. They're text. So a third of the submissions are a recipe, a question, a story, a rant. something in text that people have posted, but also, of course, video, images, whatever, links to news articles. And so people vote those up and down. And the algorithm ensures that nothing is up at the top for more than a few hours. So even when Obama came on and did Nyama, he was replaced in like 12, 13 hours. So everything churns very fast. And then, you can comment on any submission. And the great thing about Reddit's comments, and I don't know why the rest of the web hasn't done this, but they're all threaded and votable. So they're not in chronological order or reverse.
John, you want to click through on a couple?
They are the comments.
What the hell is that?
It's a pregnancy test.
A pregnancy test with what? I just was walking through Walmart looking for those pumice things when congratulations. Okay.
There's actually a fascinating story that came out of Reddit recently where someone, as a joke, took their girlfriend's pregnancy test, a guy.
Yeah.
And it came back positive. And so he posted about it, and people were like, no, wait, like that can be a precursor, or that can be a marker for testicular cancer. Like people in the Reddit comments. And so he went to the doctor, and he got tested, and it turns out he did have testicular cancer.
Shut
No, I'm serious.
up.
And they were able to catch it in time because he posted this thing as a laugh, and then someone was like, no, really, you should go to the doctor. There's
But
some
I think
connection.
the most
and they caught it in time.
But the most incredible thing about Reddit is the comments, right? Like I spend like you've sucked most of my life. I love going on because the thing about Reddit is that when I'm on it, right, I can consume so much, but it's really about the information I learn from people who are also smart. It's hard to read these. Can we tweak it up a little? Okay, so now you've built it. You decided to add the comments. When did you add the upvoting and downvoting? Because that's a very big part of Reddit.
Right. So the upvoting and downvoting were there from the very beginning.
Right. From the okay.
So from the very beginning, we
very dig-like.
Yeah. But we wanted everything on your homepage or on the front page to be there because people voted it there. And so in the comments are also sortable and by votes.
Right.
And so it's not uncommon to have 20,000 comment threads. And then what I think was kind of what made Reddit what it is now is we added the ability for anyone to create a subreddit. And so anyone can come on and they can create a category on Reddit.
And those are along the top.
Those things are at the top. Today I Learned, WTF, All, which is cute pet photos.
Are those done according to what people are voting, or do you guys actually curate that along the top?
The ones along the top, we sort of curate if you have not. There's a default set that you get by default, and then you can go and change them.
Okay.
So, for example, there's probably 30 I subscribe to that are not, the most popular ones. My best friend in North Carolina, he subscribes to 2 subreddits, homebrewing and a subreddit for new dads, and that's it. So his homepage is just 2 subreddits.
Right. That's it.
We started with some, basic topics, funny, pics, politics, gaming, and then once we opened it up for people to create their own subreddits, that's when it really started to take off.
All right, well, let's burn around a little bit on the site itself. I think that you mentioned that when you go and you get up in the morning, you go right to the random button, right? And why do you go up to that one?
So there's probably 100,000 subreddits out there. And there's every morning I find ones I've never seen before. And so I don't know where this is going.
So just so everyone's clear, when they have a subreddit, it's Reddit and then / I like small pink cars.
Right.
Right. And there are some crazy subreddits. And you were telling me about one that you really particularly liked last night. There was trees that suck.
Yeah. So this one is, and I honestly have never seen this one before. This one is My Face Win, MFW. So people, I guess they're posting photos of what their face looks like when they hear certain things.
I am so glad we're not streaming this right now. Every time John clicks, I'm like, oh dear God, here goes the entire day. Okay. You know what? Why don't we try the MFW? Someone tells me when not to touch something. You want to try that? Okay. Avoid your eyes. Okay, let's try MFW. I watch an entire Sony presentation. The PS4 is never shown. Okay. I don't know. I wouldn't vote that one up. Yeah. I'm eating those last salty crowns from a box of Triscuits. Okay, let's try that. Now, this is a perfect segue. What WTF with cats and dogs? Like, what is Reddit is like? The front page of Reddit is like something interesting. Dog, cat, dog, cat, dog.
Right.
What's the deal?
I mean, I have a dog and 2 cats, and the biomass equals out. So I'm kind of split there. But I think it's the same reason. I mean, the office we work in, we have dogs there, and we would have cats if that were logistically a good idea, which it's not. But it's soothing to look at photos of cute animals. It's universal. You can show someone a picture of a cute otter holding hands with its otter friend all over the world, and people are basically going to have the same reaction.
Okay, so let's move on to, so someone comes in and let's decide they like the, which one? Triscuits. Okay, you want Well, no. That's my sister, so no. Someone tells me not to touch something. I think we all like that. Okay, so you click on it. All right, now we go back and you want to comment, so we should go and take a look at the comments, right? Oh, please God, be good. 2 comments only, so it's only been up 2 hours, right? And this is where you would add your comment. I told you not to touch that shit, and you did.
I'm assuming YFW is your face win.
Yeah, I don't know. There's some acronyms I don't know. So here you can subscribe, right, to this particular feed. Do you want to just take us through what all the little bits and pieces are? Because there's 38 points. You can upvote it. You can add comments. And all these lead towards the piece of content moving higher up in Reddit, right? There's a back-end algorithm running on it that makes that? And how do you weight things? How do you weight points against comments?
So, so essentially the algorithm is open. It's in the open source, and there's plenty of articles written about it. You can see it. I'm a liberal arts major, so I hope I don't butcher this too much. But it's essentially upvotes minus downvotes, and then it decays logarithmically over time. So it's very simple.
What did you say? I'm okay. So it's upvotes minus downvotes with the logarithmic decay over time.
Right. And that's how things are ranked. So, so something, something after a few hours, it's going to need 10 times more votes, cumulative upvotes minus downvotes, to stay in the same place 1 hour later.
Okay, I see. Okay.
So things
that's the
rise and fall very quickly.
So if you get a lot of votes initially, that's great. But then if you don't have a lot of votes later, you're going to fall down.
Correct.
Okay, great. And then can you talk a little bit about the point system?
Sure. So let's see. So this particular post got 42 upvotes and 4 downvotes. So it has a score here of 38.
And how do you get to that number? Oh, is it? Oh, sorry, it's divided. Okay, I'm gonna go over here. I'm okay. Sorry.
No,
it's 42 minus 5.
And someone just downvoted it. So and all of, I mean, what's great too is we let whoever created the MFW Reddit, which I've never seen before, they customize everything on the site. So they've put this drawing in the background. They've actually done something interesting here. They've split out submit a new link and submit a new text post.
Yeah.
That's something that the creator of the subreddit has chosen to do. They've added some text here. Some people, if you go to the Game of Thrones subreddit or the Harry Potter subreddit or one of those, it's going to look completely different. There's people who are doing amazing things visually with CSS, even doing things like
which one should we go to that has that?
Game of Thrones.
Let's
or
go to
Breaking Bad, since you're a fan.
Well, no, we'll go to Game of Thrones. No one cares about what I like. Game of Thrones subreddit. It's the top. I think
that'll work. That'll work.
John, you must be as tired as I am. Just click right there.
Right. So all this stuff has been done by the moderators of the subreddit. They've added this sort of burnt scroll look and some wood things and chains and castle stones.
And this is a perfect way to segue into the IAMAs, right?
Sure.
Ask me anyone. I'm a Game of Thrones extra. Ask me anything. And I think this is probably one of the biggest things that you were telling me last night that just has made Reddit what it is today. You had no idea that these Ask Me Anythings were going to be so big, and so many people were going to be so engaged. Do you want to talk about a little bit about the IAMAs?
Sure. So I mean, and there've been a few. There's definitely been some precursors on the web. Slashdot used to have essentially, these kind of crowdsourced Q&As with some sort of voting or moderation by the community. Dig had a version that was all video that was pretty good, and we, in the early days, a user kind of created the format as it is today, and sort of the community collectively decided, how it should be done and sort of the conventions. And in the early days, we had to beg and plead to get, not even celebrities, but just people who had interesting jobs or life experience to come on.
So you were at Reddit, were actually reaching out to people to come and do IAMAs?
Yeah, I would send out
I thought it was just someone put it up and then it took off one day. So you guys were actually curating and cultivating this.
Oh, no, I mean, we were, I guess, booking, trying to, so I would send email to, I'd send out tens of emails a day and just say hey, we have this thing, can you come on? And it just takes a couple hours, and you answer people in text, and here's how to do it. And now people come on,
well, what's really interesting at Reddit is you get people asking on Reddit for the IAMA of that person. So I guess the recent one was Monty Python, Eric Idle. They wanted one from him. And then literally 2 weeks later, he came on and did it. But that wasn't through you guys. That was him doing it himself, right? That was someone requesting and then asking for it?
Yeah. A lot of times people will, find someone on Twitter and sort of ask/harass them on Twitter to come and do one. Their fans will kind of really, be persistent about getting them to come on and kind of help them through the process too, which is great. There's a lot of times when, because Reddit's kind of confusing sometimes, and so a lot of times some of these, celebrities or people will come on and they'll do something, technically wrong, but the community and fans will kind of help them figure it out as they go, which I think somehow makes it more.
Well, let's go to the front page. John, do you want to go to the front page? Because that's actually a really good one just to, so this is the front page of the internet, they call it. Which one? I'm so scared to click on anything, really. Which should we vote? Which one? The top one? The very top one? Sorry, White House is the internet? Okay.
No, go down.
Go down. Scroll. I saw this last week, and now it's like they've taken it to a whole nother level. It's awesome. Okay, great. And so if we look at the comments on the Sorry White House, if I were after a president now, he'd just have to deal with being made into a Mario Kart. I don't care if it's directed by Michael Bay. I'd see this in a heartbeat. He was sent back to eradicate polio's ass. This is amazing. So I think you guys are getting the idea, and I want to throw it out right now. We have a couple of mics out there, so if you have a question for Eric, just raise your hand so that we can keep going through, and we'll move on to the next one. Can you just talk, while we're waiting for people for mics, can you just talk about the philosophy of content sharing and how this is really the crowd? And it seems that people, I'm on Reddit a lot, people aren't as vicious as you would think they would be. In a situation where you've got so many comments and people can make fun of people, it seems like it could be a lot more. How do you guys make sure that it's sort of a nice playground? I know it gets bad every once in a while. How do you deal with that?
Sure. So, I think, the voting system takes care of a lot. That has a big impact, because you can, if someone's on there, they're just trolling, or they're, spam, or they're, not contributing, in general, they're going to get voted down. There's certainly exceptions, but in general, that helps. And I think if you look at some of the other commenting system commenting systems out there that don't have downvotes or some equivalent, you see that they have a real hard time keeping, the kind of troll and spam and, crazy political cut and paste rants from rising to the top. So that's part of it. The other is subreddits. I mean, if you go into the gluten-free cooking subreddit or the classical guitar subreddit, it's pretty darn polite and supportive. There's other subreddits you go into that are.
What's the worst subreddit?
The worst subreddit?
Trollcentral.com.
No, so there's this amazing, I don't know about the worst, but there's this amazing phenomena where something gets really a kind of, I don't know, a subreddit or a thing on Reddit gets really popular, then someone will make a circle jerk version of that. So they'll basically make a parody version, satirizing whatever it is. So like fitness, there's a
Can we find one on here right now?
If you go to fitnesscirclejerk.reddit, or it might be fitness jerk, I can't remember, but people make, the fitness community on Reddit is very like pro weightlifting and eating a lot of protein and anti-cardio, and so people will sort of take that to an extreme to satirize the fitness community. And then what happens is then you'll find either a triangle jerk or a.
So do we want to go to fitness? Do we want to go to fitness first? Whoa! Stop! I
don't know that.
Oh dear Lord! I told you, John. Listen to me. Do you want to go to the fitness one first, please? Don't go to that one. Oh dear Lord. Okay, we had a question over here while we're waiting to get to the fitness one. Yes, name and where you're from.
Yeah, Liz from MSN again. Eric, thank you. This is really interesting. I just had a quick question on the psychology of Reddit. And I know people are very open and raw about what they're sharing. It's like they're just talking to their next door neighbor or best friend. Do you have any comments on that, or how it may have evolved and how people should look at it, whether it's true or false comments, that sort of thing?
I mean, two things I was thinking about is one is like, what do people do in real life, right? And if you're at a neighborhood bar or you're at a sporting event or you're at the grocery store and you kind of run into someone and start discussing, something that's happening in the parking lot or on TV or whatever, you don't right away ask them their full name and credentials, right? You just start talking. And so I think, Reddit, there's some similarity there where the people have an identity if they're on the site a lot and oh, that guy comes in the bar every day. And, now I've been coming here a lot, so now I know his name's John and I know he works in publishing. But, that's not, you don't know that person doesn't have to identify with a name tag wherever they go. So I think there's some of that. It's more closer to how we communicate in real life.
Can I interject a little bit and ask you also, just building on that question, this idea of anonymity, because people when they're on Reddit are essentially anonymous. And there's a huge debate going on. Obviously Zuckerberg believes from the Facebook standpoint that everyone should use their own name and they should be, and Google's gone down this road as well. Yet here, it's essentially anonymous, right? And people are posting things, and some of the most interesting and intriguing stuff I've ever read in my life has been on Reddit because people are able to be extremely truthful because you don't know who they are, right? And they can really talk about things that they never would. From a psychological and sociological standpoint, how do you think that affects what's happening on there?
Sure. So I mean, I think in communities like Facebook or something, real names have their place and they're not necessarily bad. But I think in sort of open discussion areas like Reddit, if you're not just your name, but if your uncle and your coworkers and your clients see everything you talk about, it's not that there's just things you're not going to talk about, and so it's very sterilizing very quickly. So there's an example there was a discussion on Obamacare on Reddit. Well, many discussions about Obamacare, but there was one in particular. We had a subreddit. We have a subreddit called "Explain Like I'm 5." So someone said, "Obamacare, explain like I'm 5 years old," and there was this 10-paragraph breakdown of Obamacare, and it was the best one I had read. And then people started, different political blogs and political people on Twitter started, tweeting out like, "This is far better than anything I've seen in the mainstream news as a breakdown." Now, that guy could live in Australia. He could be a healthcare lawyer. I don't know, but the beauty is, if he is a healthcare lawyer, someone with some sort of insider insight, there's no way he's going to ever post that on his Facebook or Twitter or on a blog under his real name, because that would jeopardize his career, and people would, and maybe some people would, but that particular individual, and who knows, maybe they are Australian and they made all this stuff up, but it was very effective and able to rise on its own merits.
I'm going to get into the tough questions because we've got to start wrapping it up. So is there any other questions? Please put up your arm. Great. Okay, we got lots. The last one for me is that how truthful are people on Reddit? Because a lot of the stuff I realized that I click through, it's a little flaky. Like, people make up stuff, and I'm not really sure. I have to triangulate it. So how do you guys? How much should we put in from the truth standpoint?
Again, I'd say it's like in real life. If you meet someone at a party and they tell you something that's interesting, and then later you're thinking like, that sounded really cool, but I don't know if that's actually true or not. So I should probably Wikipedia it or something. Yeah, I mean, I think, you're kind of, part of the fun is trying to figure it out yourself, and Reddit is pretty good. The community is pretty good at sort of fact checking itself and
figuring it out.
People jump in and have links, and especially in our more scientific subreddits, people ask for citations and evidence, and they get pretty detailed. Nice. But yeah, always be careful when you read things on the internet.
Nice. All right, let's buzz through a bunch of questions. I know there's 1, 2, 3, 4, so I want to quickly go for it. Yes. Hi. Name and where are you from?
I'm Nabby. I'm from GCI. So I had a question about the anonymity thing again. I read this Gawker expose. I don't know if anyone else has. And they revealed the identity of a user named Violent Krez or something. And he basically created a subreddit called, I don't remember what it was called, but he published a lot of incest porn and child pornography and upskirts and a lot of disgusting content. And he eventually got revealed for who he was, and he lost his job and lost insurance, and then he ended up, it's Violent ARACREZ. Anyway, so he created a website, and then people who were following him on the subreddit ended up donating money and supporting him in that way because he had lost this job. How does Reddit and the people who run it police that kind? When do you step in and say, okay, we got to figure this guy out, or this is not an appropriate subreddit, or you're really taking advantage of the anonymity thing?
Sure. So we have, it's our belief that, to run a site, a forum that's this open and this size, we need very few rules, and we need to be able to enforce them very well. And so we have 5 rules on Reddit, and basically it's things that protect the voting, and then things that are illegal. Or we, police it for things that are illegal. So anything outside of those 2 things, essentially, even though we may personally find it objectionable and horrible, as long as it's not illegal, we're going to leave it up. So that's, sort of our philosophy around that. So, I mean, as a human being, there's a lot of things that I find, not just offensive, but bad. But, we believe it's better to have an open forum where, we're not sort of implying our own morality on different things, even though there may be some very clear-cut cases that all of us in this room could agree upon. It's more for the sake of those things that are gray that we're not going to impose our own morality on things on there.
Awesome. Hold you there. Let's go over here. Yeah, name and where you're from?
Andrew McKay, and Eric, just want to thank you for coming up here. I just had a question about what it was like inside kind of Reddit HQ when everyone sort of started to leave dig for Reddit en masse, because as a 2-year member, which kind of falls right around that time, it seemed as if it only took about a week. And I was just wondering if there's any insight you guys could give from behind the scenes.
Dig. Yeah, I guess in a way it was.
Victory, or was it?
No, I don't. People don't believe me when I say this, but it was sad, because we knew some of those guys, and I think they kind of got in a as a company kind of got in a bad place that they couldn't get out of, and it was sad to see that happen. And I never. A lot of people in the Reddit community or Dig community saw them as a competitor. I didn't, because if someone went to Dig and enjoyed it, and the same is true for Pinterest or BuzzFeed or any other of the things that people in the media say are competitors to Reddit, then I think they're much more likely to enjoy Reddit. if they happen to find their way there.
All right. I'm sorry, Eric. I do want to get to come up. We are running a little bit over. Is everyone okay if I take 2 more questions? And then we're going to go for the party afterwards. Brad?
Hi, Brad Pellman. Can you just briefly take me through the business model? Like, where does the money come from? Who's advertising? If there's anonymity, like, how does that all work?
Sure. So, basically at Reddit we have 3 main revenue streams. One is Reddit Gold, which started out as a joke, but now is it's a premium membership, and people pay $4 a month, and they get some extra features. And I think most people do it to support us. Most people do it because they, spend a lot of time on the site and they want to help support it.
It's not Reddit currency. It's Reddit Gold membership.
Correct.
Yes. Okay. Because I think people get confused that they're like, oh, I get Reddit Gold, I can give it around the site. No, it's a membership.
No, you can give it to other people, but it's a premium.
But it's more of a premium thing.
Correct.
Okay, cool.
And then we also have advertising, and there's sort of 2 types. We have advertising from big, video games and movies and consumer electronics and the traditional stuff, and then we have sort of self-serve advertising that's more mom and pop, sort of operations and people in the community advertising to each other. So, we have big brands, and then we also have people who've never bought an ad before on there.
Cool. Matthew, one more. Yep. Where did the microphone go?
Hi, Matthew, Jumpwire.
It's right there, Jay. Right there, Matthew.
The question is about metrics, demographics, and engagement metrics as well.
So metrics, in January 2013, we had 4.2 billion page views. We have an average of 17 minutes time on site.
So is that good?
That's good.
It's just what would you compare it? Like if you looked at MSN, where are you?
I don't know. Where's
Reddit compared to MSN?
I don't know. I think most
what are your monthly uniques?
Monthly uniques is 55 million. And we basically doubled since 2005. Reddit's doubled every 12 months. Pretty steady. And 90% of the people that are on Reddit today were on Reddit yesterday. And we don't. The nice thing about Reddit that I wish more sites would copy is that we don't integrate with Facebook. We don't integrate with Twitter. We don't email people unless you forget your password and want to reset it. We don't even require an email address. You can't even find a link to our own Facebook and Twitter on Reddit. We don't do any of the things you're supposed to do. And so, we don't have any traffic trading partnerships, any integration, anything like that.
I'm gonna cry. It's like you don't do anything, and you're like one of the most successful.
But I think maybe that's because we're now at least we're differentiated by that. But I don't know. We could put a little button that makes it easy to tweet a Reddit link, but I think something about the process of copying and pasting it makes it.
I have to say, your apps are really good, and I will leave it this way, is that the app for Android is probably the best app I've ever used. You click it and you can share it immediately to my Facebook, to my Twitter. When I'm on my iPad, I can't do that. I'm not sure why Apple thought it was cool just to shut that out, but it's a problem. Is there anything else?
We don't make our own apps.
Yeah,
those are all third party.
It's great. Even if it's great. Is there anything you want to tell the world before you exit the stage?
Yeah, just that. There's 100,000 subreddits, and I'm pretty sure there's amazing local subreddits. The mayor of Ottawa was on the Ottawa subreddit yesterday, and I learned that in Canada, so in the IAMAs, there's this kind of trivial thing where they will ask someone, would you rather fight 100 duck-sized horses or 1 horse-sized duck? And it's become a meme, and it's been beaten into the ground. But in this Ottawa interview with the Ottawa mayor, they Canadianized it, and they asked him if you'd rather fight 100 beaver-sized moose or 1 moose-sized beaver. So there's subreddits for every TV show, every video game, every academic subject, and some of them are really, really amazing content.
I really appreciate you taking the time to come up here and tell us about it. Please, a round of applause for Eric.
Thanks.
You're going to be sticking around, right? If people want to talk to you, great. Thank you for a fantastic day, everybody. It's the tweets have been phenomenal. I just want to say that we've got a really great break all the way through. We've got wine and beer. I'm going to tell you who from. I just want to thank our supporting partners, WIFT, Communitech, CDMA, LBMA, and the Interactive Ontario. We have our networking reception is sponsored by CMPA, featuring Steam Whistle and Carlo Estates Wine, Steam Whistle Beer and Carlo Estates Wine. It's in the Novella Lounge. And then finally, I would like to thank our volunteers. Can our volunteers please stand up? Where are they? Come on. Where are they? If you see one, there's Ariel over there. There's Nora over there. Caroline. I can't see it. Jay over here. Jay, great job on the microphones. Thank you for making Crossmedia Toronto 2013 fantastic. I can hardly wait to read through all the tweets. It was such great conversations going on there. And I have to turn around. Oh, yes. People pointing to me. Behind you, idiot. As you may or may not know, like our Facebook page, but we do something called Thirsty Thursdays where we bring in 2 speakers. Tony was a speaker there. The next one we are doing is what? Mobile. So the next one we're doing mobile. I'm not sure who the speakers are yet. They're done at our offices here in Toronto. We usually have 30 or 40 people to come out. Sorry? Oh, and my wife is like pointing at me. The last thing is that we are working with the BAMP Center, and we are creating a retreat in September, the 23rd and 24th. It's 2 days. It's going to be exactly like this, except you're all going to be on the ground for 2 days. If you've never been to the BAMP Center, you want to go. It's brand new. They've done a whole bunch of stuff, and we're just going to be having this sort of thing all day long, lots of discussion and lots of great speakers. We'd love to have you come out, and if you can afford to take some time off, I know it's really hard to do, but it's going to be a lot of fun in the mountains, and it's going to be exactly like this. Tech, we want to have people like Reddit and Bitcoin and Bitly, and everybody here. And then next year, we're going to be doing this on February 13th. So February the 13th. So we hope to see you all there. And finally, I heard from John at the back. Amy, you should probably come up because I need to give you a big thank you. Get up here. Come on. Yes. Come on up. Now, we have an issue at Jumpwire that Amy does not like to be hugged. She's not a hugger. And I don't think we're big huggers at Jumpwire at all. But, sometimes you just got to hug it out, right? So we had an incident where I went to hug her at Christmas, and she was like, oh. I'm too British. Come on up. Come on up. I'm not going to hug you. Don't worry. Okay. Please, everyone, a round of applause for Amy. Jennifer, come up here. Just look at the back. Jennifer Harkness is our co-founder. Come on. Anyway. I just want to thank these two. Worked really hard with our entire Jumpwire team to make this happen. It wasn't easy, and they did a great job. And I think that there was one last thing. Yes. We want to know if you actually make a connection. If you make a connection with someone you hadn't met, you end up doing business together or even working on a project. I heard today we wanted to get Jamie from Vodo, who earlier in the day was talking about stuff on BitTorrent. He was talking with the guy from Bitcoin, and they're looking to do something together because that's what they want. And I overheard this from Jonathan at the back, and I know Jamie and I were talking. Is Jamie here? Still here? Yeah, they're in the other room. They're in the other room talking. So, signing deals. But that's what I'm talking about, is that bringing together people like Bitcoin, which totally blew me away, and Vodo, what they're doing and trying to do stuff on BitTorrent and getting us content and allowing us to monetize it because it means it stays around more. So if something like that happens, please email us or text us or tweet us or something, because we want to explore and heighten that. We also want to let people know about it. Thank you for a great day. Looking forward to partying. Yay, we're done!